As far as he is concerned, the Iranians promised to turn up, but Iran has accused the United States of continuous violations of the ceasefire agreement, including with its blockade of Iran's ports and sending unconstructive and contradictory signals. And Iran is saying that it will refuse to submit to force.
Recapping the top stories, suspended Swane Chief Financial Officer Gareth Mnisi will be further grilled over his alleged tender manipulation when he appears before the Mahlangu Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria this morning. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports Headlines. Soccer, we've got Durban City aiming to bounce back quickly after their 5-goal setback. And we head to swimming. South Africa President Alan Fritz says the 2026 National Championships wear fireworks. We'll find out more at around 6:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, Pretoria. First up, roadworks on the M1 South between Sefaka-Makato and Stormful Road. Traffic coming into that from Montana already backlogging. Durban, reports of a taxi crash on the N3 at Tollgate Bridge. We understand it may be out of Durban, so heading out towards Spaghetti Junction. Watch for some delays and a breakdown on the N2 North going up into Magena Road territory. Left lane is closed there. Misty conditions between Pietermaritzburg and Hammersdale in the usual spots this morning. Take it easy if it's misty when you arrive. And Cape Town, the N2 inbound, jam-packed already. Looks like a busy one into Cape Town this morning. Traffic sitting between Spine Road, Khayelitsha and the airport runway. And Chapman's Peak Drive remaining closed due to adverse weather. Chappie's closed now until further notice. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAFM. Clarity, context and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
Well, good morning, South Africa, and welcome to the National Briefing. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana. It's Tuesday, the 21st of April. We're with you from 6 until 9 a.m. as we lead conversations that move us, bringing you clarity, context, and conversation. Well, what can you expect today? The ANC has drawn a line in the sand. Secretary General Fikile Mbalula says dual membership of the ANC and the SACP, those who have dual membership have 10 days from Thursday to declare which party they will campaign for in this year's local government elections. Cabinet ministers are in the frame and the Communist Party is pushing back. We'll unpack what this means for the future of the tripartite alliance in the 7 o'clock hour. Before that, we'll go global in this first hour. China is recalibrating its posture towards Taiwan and Japan. Indonesia and Australia are building a new trilateral defense architecture with Japan and Papua New Guinea. And in Madrid, Venezuela's Nobel Peace Prize laureate has told the world she is going home. Well, what does all of this mean for South Africa's foreign policy posture? Also this morning, we'll look at the middle class debt trap. The National Debt Advisor says even South Africans earning 50,000 Rand a month are now spending roughly 3/4 of their take-home pay servicing debt. We ask how a stable income stopped being a guarantee to financial security. Of course, we'll also bring you the latest markets, weather update, sporting updates, and your calls and interaction. We love to hear from you. The number to dial to get in touch with us on the studio line on any of the issues we're tracking, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. That's 0614 104 107. This is the National Briefing.
At Fly SAfmRadio, we know that some of the most important lessons take place beyond the classroom, on sports fields, stages and tours. And so, we've brought back our School Booster Initiative, where 10 schools stand to win 10 domestic return flights each, helping their pupils fly further, dream bigger and do what they love. Visit flysafmradio.co.za. Tell us how these flights could benefit your school and you could be a winner. Fly SAfmRadio, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Based upon what we know, for example, different political parties expressing themselves in their own, there's grounds now for an impeachment. Do you think that is pushing the boundaries too far?
Well, it seems like, having regard to the fact that Parliament itself commissioned a commission to investigate that, and they took a decision not to proceed with that type of approach. What we should not lose focus on is that there must be some requirements met for people to persuade us that there's wrongdoing. I don't think the public will protect anybody if there's wrongdoing.
Modidima Manya, the advocate and legal analyst.
Ashraf Garda on SAfm.
All right, it's 11 after 6 o'clock. Let's get into your front page focus, taking a look at the stories covering on the front pages of the newspapers this morning. I'll start off with the Business Day. They're going with S&P Global on track to maintain SA's ratings. The prolonged war could change picture update, but by May. S&P Global there saying it's on track to maintain its credit rating for South Africa at BB for foreign currency and BB plus for local currency, with a positive outlook. But this could change by its May 29 update, depending on how the Middle East war affects the country's economic metrics. Now, S&P upgraded the country's rating in November 2025. It was the first time in 2 decades, citing stronger than expected tax revenue, primary budget surpluses, and reduced risks that are linked to Eskom and other state-owned entities. Also on the front page of the Business Day, speculation over Motsepe's ANC bid refuses to die down. That's the big question. Is Patrice Motsepe going to run for presidency as a candidate? That story there, the ANC succession debate, including speculation of a possible Patrice Motsepe candidacy, is making its way through financial market circles as pundits debate how the change of guard in the country's largest party will affect reforms. Now, a report compiled by Bank of America after its annual conference earlier this month shows the ANC succession was discussed, with speakers emphasizing that the reform window is narrowing and the ANC succession in December 2027 could slow or derail those reforms. And now the big question is, will Patrice Motsepe be putting his hand up? Interesting, right? That even that is making conversation at such a high level. The front page of the Citizens, they're going with the schools vaping crisis. And a hair-raising study published by the South African Medical Journal has surveyed 52 schools in South Africa. It's raised the alarm over a growing vape fad among pupils. And where they smoke, there's fire, with the research showing how rife the habit has become among school-going youth. It's also pointing to worrying signs of addictive patterns and raising the spectre of vaping becoming a gateway to harder stuff. So that's the warning there. on the front page of the Citizen. The big picture that they're going with is that of the suspended MPD acting Chief Commissioner Julius Mkhwanazi appearing in court alongside the Ekurhuleni City Manager Kagiso Lerutla at the Boksburg Magistrates Court yesterday. They're both facing charges of fraud, corruption, and defeating and obstructing the course of justice. That bail application is expected to continue on Thursday. So a very different Julius Mkhwanazi appearing in court yesterday. And of course, the fallout continues. If you're staying with the Madlanga Commission, you'd see the evidence continuing from the suspended Tshwane CFO, and that in and of itself drawing quite a lot of scrutiny. So there's a lot that has been happening behind the scenes in as far as the procurement processes and how these are potentially broken. The front page of the Sowetan, how top official outsourced justice. And this now going to the Ekurhuleni City Manager, allegations around how he allegedly used an imposter to appear in court for him in a speeding case. Can you believe that? Lerutla appearing in court for the matter alongside Brigadier Mkhwanazi, who helped him hire the double, a law enforcement officer, assisting another individual in the breaking of the law. That is the allegation here. So the Sowetan going with that particular story, and also bidding farewell to Mam Cynthia following her passing yesterday. And they've got a beautiful picture of her from early in the day, shall I say, from back in the day, celebrating just the journey that she has walked. I think maybe let's see the front page of the Star this morning. Mnisi denies Malema's role in tender scandal. He was questioned quite intensely, right, about the allegations of Julius Malema having provided him with a list of 7 companies vying for a 2.9 billion rand security tender in the city. It comes amid those tender rigging allegations within the Tshwane Metro Police Department, and Mnisi grilled over his role, and also that of Sergeant Fani Nkosi, who he described as a friend. So that's what you can expect on the front page of the Star. Maybe to end off with the story, the road rage incident in Emmarentia, which turned deadly in front of children. I'm sure you've seen it on social media and even the videos. Look, I haven't had the courage to watch that video, but I know that there are several iterations doing the rounds on social media. And it's about how a road rage confrontation in Emmarentia escalated into a fatal shooting in broad daylight. One man was left dead, a woman, his wife, injured, and 2 young children traumatized after witnessing the attack on their parents. The incident occurring over the weekend. It began as an altercation between 2 male drivers before spiraling into gunfire. What a tragedy this has been. And the big question is that it could have all been avoided. It didn't have to end this way. They also have a 10-point plan to prevent road rage. The first of those: forget work or home worries and concentrate on the road. We can all show each other a little bit more patience on the roads. That's what's making the front page covers this morning.
Attention all shoppers.
Our supermarket shelves are full of unhealthy food. It's often hard for me to know which foods are good for my family. The information on packaged food is complicated and hard to understand. I wish we had easy-to-understand warning labels on foods high in salt, sugar, and saturated fat. We have the right to know what's in our food. Support front-of-package warning labels on unhealthy packaged foods. Sign the petition on healer.org. That's HEALA.org.
SABC2 is bringing the heat. New shows, new faces, and stories that hit home like the one I'm in. It's called Pinball, and that's where you can catch me, Clementine Musimane, Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. Live in every bit, the pulse of SA.
Exciting news, South Africa. SABC TV Licenses has partnered with Capitec to make paying your TV license simple, affordable and accessible. If you're a Capitec client, sign into the app and click on Transact. Next, select Pay Bills, then click Pay At and enter your reference number to complete your payment. It's as easy as that. You'll receive instant SMS confirmation. Now you can keep your stories alive and your screens shining bright. TV licenses, pay yours, make a difference.
The National Briefing on SAFM. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
Let's take a look at your weather for today. We start with the warnings. There's a yellow level 4 warning. Severe thunderstorms leading to strong, damaging winds, hail, excessive lightning, and possible heavy downpours leading to flooding and damages to susceptible formal, informal settlements and infrastructure that can be expected over the eastern and southwestern parts of Limpopo, northern parts of Gauteng, as well as the extreme northwestern parts of Mpumalanga. A yellow level 2 warning, severe thunderstorms leading to localized flooding of susceptible roads, low-lying areas and bridges, as well as localized damage to infrastructure and settlements, which can be expected over the central parts of Limpopo, Mpumalanga, southern parts of Gauteng, western and extreme eastern parts of Northwest, as well as the western and central parts of the Free State. A yellow level 2 warning, damaging winds and waves leading to disruption of ports, small harbors activities for a short period of time, and difficulty in navigation at sea can be expected between Alexander Bay and Plettenberg Bay. Another yellow level 2 warning, damaging waves leading to disruption of ports, small harbors, activities for a short period of time, and difficulty in navigation at sea that can be expected between Alexander Bay and Plettenberg Bay. There are no fire warnings today. The advisories: hot and humid weather conditions will result in extremely uncomfortable conditions over north coast of KwaZulu-Natal and adjacent interior. Taking a look at the weather in specific areas in Pretoria, it's cloudy with widespread showers and thunder showers, minimum 15, maximum 24. The expected UVB sunburn index is high. Johannesburg, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 14, maximum 23. In Vereeniging, fine at first, otherwise cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 14, maximum 24. In Mbombela, morning fog, otherwise cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 18, maximum 25. Polokwane, partly cloudy, becoming cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 16, maximum 24. In Mahikeng, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 13, maximum 26. In Vryburg, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 7, maximum 26. In Bloemfontein, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 4, maximum 21. In Kimberley, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 5, maximum 22. In Uppington, fine, minimum 8, maximum 24. In Cape Town, partly cloudy, becoming cloudy with rain from the afternoon, wind moderate to fresh northwesterly, becoming southwesterly. The expected UV index very high, minimum 12, maximum 17. In George, fine, becoming partly cloudy to cloudy with rain from the afternoon. The wind light to moderate northwesterly in the morning, becoming moderate to fresh southwesterly, minimum 10, maximum 20. In Gqeberha, fine, becoming cloudy with showers of rain in the evening, wind fresh to strong westerly, minimum 8, maximum 23. In East London, fine, wind moderate to fresh northeasterly, becoming southwesterly in the late afternoon, minimum 10, maximum 24. In Durban, partly cloudy with isolated evening showers and thunder showers, wind moderate northwesterly, becoming moderate to fresh northeasterly, minimum 21, maximum 28. The expected UVB sunburn index is high. Richards Bay, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, wind light southeasterly, becoming moderate to fresh northeasterly, minimum 22, maximum 30. In Pietermaritzburg, morning fog, otherwise partly cloudy with scattered afternoon showers and thunder showers, minimum 15, maximum 30.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
The question to you on social media is, does the gym intimidate or inspire you to take charge of your health?
So the big thing is 65% of women fear being judged. Then the second fear is that you feel that you're not fit enough to begin. And you're already telling yourself that in your mind. It sees it as a social threat and sees it as a danger. The buzzword at the moment is gym intimidation.
That was Liesel van der Westhuizen, mental fitness and burnout business coach.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. The National Briefing on SAFM with Cathy Mohlahlana.
You're listening to the National Briefing as we bring you clarity, context, and conversation. We are expecting to get into our global brief shortly. Before we do that, let me bring in just some of the calls that you've already started putting through. I'll start with Ali in Zanin. Ali, you want to talk about the arrest of Julius Mkhwanazi?
Yes, that's correct, Mrs. Cathy. Good morning to you.
Yes, sir.
I'm right here in Waterfall, where the Deputy President is staying. I'm working here. So all I want to say, my sister, is I'm happy. I'm so overexcited about the arrest of Julius Mkhwanazi. And I want to even clap hands to what Madanga Commission is doing compared to what the Zondo Commission was doing, because when I look at what the Zondo Commission was doing, it is only, I can say, Vincent Smith has been arrested some few weeks ago out of the Zondo Commission. So this one, Madanga, did a great job, a very good job indeed. So I'm happy seeing Julius Mkhwanazi being arrested, and I can see there are still more to come.
Ali, what do you think has made the difference?
The difference is we did not saw much arrest out of Zondo Commission. You know, I only saw Vincent Smith recently. What about those who were implicated, like the like of Ace Magashule and the others? Because they were implicated. Yes, they were implicated. But we did not heard about Ace Magashule being arrested and the others. There were many people who were implicated. And out of people who were coming from ANC.
Okay.
People who were coming from. Now I'm happy about what Madanga Commission is doing, and I'm so overexcited. More is still coming, Cathy.
All right, Ali out in Zanin, we'll leave it there. And I guess the question around what makes the difference is an important one, because it's not the commissions that are doing the arrest, right? It's not the commissioners. It's not like there's any special working relationship that exists with this commission that wasn't there with the Zondo Commission of Inquiry. So I wonder, what is the difference now? Why is it that we are seeing more real-time action related to the evidence coming up before the Madanga Commission of Inquiry than what we did with the Zondo Commission of Inquiry?
Good morning, Cathy. SAFM Somali Moybek. If I talk about the ANC, the power, they were limping really for the whatever local government or next national election really. Because the DA, they must not underestimate Helen Zille. Helen Zille is power hungry. She will try to unseat ANC really. You can see the rainway is coming. They must not work the other party really. I mean, they must work together with like MK, whatever. But Helen Zille, she wants to rid of the ANC. That's the reality. I mean, you can see the rain really. Let's say again really. But ANC must work up really.
Good morning, Sis Cathy and SAF listeners. What leaves a bitter taste in my mouth is that court ruling in one of the Johannesburg courts there that foreigners are also supposed to get road accident funds. I mean, currently now they are saying 18 billion is being spent on foreigners on road accident fund. Do you remember that bus with the ARVs that tumbled? We are losing it, South Africans. T-Man in Kimberley.
Morning, Sisiketi. SSCP, they don't care whether they lose after the elections. What they just want is to get out of the alliance with the ANC, then form a coalition with MK. That's what they want there. They don't want to win. They want a coalition with MK. You remember they've been complaining about the coalition between ANC and DA. So they just want to come out of that alliance with the ANC. Mark my word, after the elections, or even before the elections, they'll join coalition with join hands with MK. Anonymous.
All right, thanks for those contributions. We were expecting to get into the global brief. I do apologize. We haven't managed to track our guest who was going to do the analysis for us. The show continues nonetheless. We'll get into Africa in Focus once we're done with all of the morning's important updates. It's 6:30. Time for your latest news headlines.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, National Police Commissioner Fani Masimola is expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning. His appearance is related to the 360 million rand irregular tender the SAPS awarded to Medicare 24, a company linked to alleged crime kingpin Vuzimuzi Cathy Mohlahlana. The suspended Tshwane Chief Financial Officer Gareth Mnisi will be further grilled over his alleged tender manipulation when he appears before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. The tender relates to a 2.9 billion rand security contract. And the Democratic Alliance has urged the Ekurhuleni Mayor Nkosindiphile Xhakaza to immediately suspend the city manager Kagiso Lerutla. Following his arrest, he appeared at the Boksburg Magistrates Court alongside suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkwanazi yesterday. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's getting heavier on the run through Pretoria this morning. M1 South, roadworks in place between Sefako Makato and Stormful Road. Looks like very limited lane capacity there. The queue back through Montana and getting back towards the N4 Bakwena Highway. A lot of traffic around Vanderboom Junction this morning as well if you're coming out of that side of Pretoria, and Bremer Street queuing up into the Dustford Tunnel already. Joburg, Mike 1, M2 routes through Crown towards the Schmidt Street exit at Braamfontein. That's slow. N3 North, not only the road works, but also breakdown this morning between Elands Interchange and Heldenase, coming around from Germiston and Alberton. That run through on the N3 getting heavy again. Durban, there are multiple breakdowns. A short time ago, there were 4 stationary vehicles. There are now 3. So you just imagine the impact that these are having in the roadworks between Umgena and Spaghetti Junction. 3 breakdowns. A lot of these breakdowns are just motorists simply running out of petrol. That's what the figures say. But net result of that is a queue that's already pushed back towards Inunda Road. Rest of Durban looking generally fairly normal this morning. Cape Town, a lot of pressure just inside Khayelitsha, Muway and Govan and Becky. There's traffic all over that junction heading up to the N2, heading off the N2 south on Muway or Govan and Becky trying to get through that junction. It's very heavily backed up and no traffic lights right in the heart of Epping. N7 Jake Skirville at Viking Way. Traffic disaster around that junction. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai Khan, a very good morning to you. Let's start off with soccer. Durban City FC, they're aiming to bounce back.
Yes, Kathy. Good morning. Bounce back is the plan. I think after 5 goals that they conceded, the only way is up for Durban City. They've got their coach reflecting on that performance. Not a great day for them at the office. They were beaten 5-2 by Magesi FC in Seshego, and this is their interim coach, Pitso Dladla, saying that it was simply a bad night. Moving on, we've also bring you Bournemouth. They've confirmed Marco Rose as their next manager on a 3-year deal with the Germans set to take over at the end of the season. Rose brings experience from top clubs in Germany and Austria, who arrive with the Cherries currently unbeaten in 13 matches and pushing for a top 8 finish. On the motorsport, and Mercedes boss Toto Wolff says that Formula One must be careful. Precise changes to its regulations, warning against overreacting amid criticism from drivers over the new cars. Wolff says discussions are ongoing with potential solutions expected as early as today. And swimming, South Africa President Alan Fritz has praised the national championships in Gqeberha as fireworks despite a shortage of records. The 5-day event produced 13 Commonwealth Game qualifiers with another opportunity, and that's ahead of next month's Africa Aquatics Championships in Algeria. Fritz says the goal is to send more than 20 swimmers to Glasgow in what he calls a very big year for South Africa swimming. And we head to the Laureus Sport for Good Awards, and it was tennis that dominated. Exciting things happening for the likes of Arina Sabalenka, who won the Sportswoman of the Year award, followed by Carlos Alcaraz winning the Sportsmen of the Year. We'll bring you more of these and other sports stories here on the National Briefing at the top of the hour. I'm Sai Khan.
The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAFM.
Ndauleng, good morning to you. We start off today with the US. It's opening the door to tariff refunds and lifting global growth hopes.
Good morning, Kathy. Now, a major shift in US trade policy is in focus as authorities open a portal for more than $160 billion in tariff refunds, following a Supreme Court ruling earlier this year that struck down the so-called Liberation Day tariffs, a set of duties introduced under President Trump last year that applied broadly across global trading partners. While companies including Walmart and Target could benefit from billions in repayments, the process is expected to be slow, with legal and administrative hurdles likely to delay payouts. Still, the move could inject significant liquidity into large corporates, potentially supporting investment and consumer demand in the US economy. However, uncertainty persists as officials weigh the introduction of new tariffs, keeping global trade tensions elevated and markets cautious. Now, in corporate action, Apple has announced a leadership transition, with hardware chief John Turnus set to become CEO from September, succeeding Tim Cook, who will move into the role of executive chairman. The company says Cook will remain through a structured handover, marking the first CEO change since he took over from Apple founder Steve Jobs in 2011. Now, the shift comes as Apple continues a major transformation, with its market value recently surging past $4 trillion operational leadership. However, attention turns to how the company will strengthen its AI strategy while navigating ongoing supply chain pressures and geopolitical risk. Turnus, long seen as Cook's successor, takes charge at a critical inflection point for the tech giant. Now, it's against that corporate and policy backdrop, markets remain sensitive to geopolitical developments, particularly around US-Iran tensions, with investors closely watching out for updates on peace talks as the April 22nd deadline approaches. In the latest session, Wall Street closed marginally lower after a choppy day of trading, with similar weakness reflected locally, where the JSE All Share ended about 1% lower. Currency markets remain relatively steady, with the rand holding in a tight range this morning at 16.38 to the dollar, 22.14 to the pound, and 19.29 to the euro. Oil prices also steady, hovering just above $94 a barrel. Then lastly, in Asia, sentiment is mixed, reflecting the same cautious tone seen across global markets. That's your market brief for this hour. I'll be back at 7:30 with more.
Africa in Focus with Advocate Sipho Mantula on SAfm.
Advocate Mantula, good morning to you. So starting off then, a look across the continent. Benin, we spoke about them going to the polls just in the last week, and now results have been made. The AU has congratulated the president-elect, Kgosi Wadagni.
Refreshing morning, Cathy, and to the listeners. I think, Cathy, they've given you the wrong story, these colleagues. We are still on Kemisebi. The Kemisebi matter yesterday, Cathy, what has happened is that the case has been postponed to 29 April for bail application. The matter is that his lawyers are saying that they have there's no request for extradition at this moment. The international warrant has not been issued, and they are believing that it is not yet ready, and they are saying the state is now buying time to fix everything. The only charge that remains is illegal immigration, and that's how we are looking at this case, that yesterday, as it was being heard in Tshwane, it has been pushed for April 29.
Let's take a look at the Ibrahim Index of African Governance, 10 years on from the 2016 data set. What is it telling us?
Cathy, it is telling us that the continent it is under stress. I am following one conference that is taking place since yesterday. It will end today in Senegal. But more Ibrahim Index, it is always looking at what I will call the pressure and the pull factors in the African continent. That report talks about the doubling increase in terms of civil wars, local conflicts, the issues in those countries. They have mentioned the Sahel, East African region, also Ethiopia. When you look at the Horn of Africa, as Ethiopia sits with many countries like Somalia, we cannot leave the SADC case. Mozambique and Eastern DRC, they have mentioned it as one of the pressure points. But in all that is gloom and doom, positive countries are Ghana, Senegal, Botswana, and Mauritius. The report says they are remaining relatively stable.
And let's turn our attention to this interesting story, China and Mozambique. It's the 10th anniversary of the China-Mozambique Comprehensive Strategic Cooperative Partnership. What does it all mean?
You know, this means that even with the state visit of Daniel Chapo to China, he's still strengthening his program of investment with Global South, with the BRICS countries looking at infrastructure development, sustainable growth. And here he's looking at what they will say is your modern logistic equipment, the automated production lines. They are looking also at the issue of agriculture, because Mozambique, it's 2/3 of its population lives in the rural areas. So they are looking at modernizing farming, looking at building of bridges and ports. But for me, when I look at the South-to-South cooperation by China and Mozambique has to still look back and say, but frontline states, SADC is still our launching pad. If you have to strengthen industrialization, regional integration, you don't have to go to Asia first only. You still need to look within the regional borders. And that's where I'm a bit skeptical sometimes when African countries have to go far to can create these corporations, when actually within the borders we have the means and we have the beneficiation that can benefit both countries. And in this instance, South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, they tend to benefit when you think of what Mozambique has.
Advocate Mantula, let's look at the 21st of April 1966, a historic one for Ethiopia.
That's quite true. It's almost 60 years when the Emperor of Ethiopia and the founding father of the Organization of African Unity, now the OAU, Emperor Haile Selassie, visited the Caribbean. He went to Trinidad and Tobago, Haiti, and on this day he was in Jamaica. And that visit was to cast a spell over the appeal of Ethiopia to the Rastafari community and how Ethiopians perceive Rastafari in turn. It's an important meeting, and many visits that happen of Haile Selassie in the continent, including in Malawi, as he was traveling and still being the one who supported the OAU Liberation Committee, also giving Nelson Mandela a code name, David Motsamai, during the liberation struggle, a very important figure in the history of the African continent. Asante sana Siseti, as was still leading the conversation, SAFM observing the Freedom Month.
At Fly SAFmRadio, we know that some of the most important lessons take place beyond the classroom, on sports fields, stages and tours. And so, we've brought back our School Booster Initiative, where 10 schools stand to win 10 domestic return flights each, helping their pupils fly further, dream bigger and do what they love. Visit flysafmradio.co.za. Tell us how these flights could benefit your school and you could be a winner. Fly SAFmRadio for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
When you listen to me, I feel important. When you hug me, I feel safe. When you talk with me, I learn.
Your love and attention helps your child grow strong and confident. Listen, comfort, and connect with him, because every child deserves to feel seen, heard, and loved.
Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
National Briefing on SAFM, weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
It's 6:45. You're listening to the National Briefing. Let's get into this story now. For years, a 50,000 Rand a month salary was the unspoken benchmark for the South African middle class, the income above which you were meant to be safe. That promise has been broken. The National Debt Advisors is now reporting that consumers at this level are spending around 74% of their take-home pay on debt repayments. That's more than double the 35 to 40% that advisors say is prudent. Let's speak now to a debt counsellor from National Debt Advisors, Sharon Midzi. Sharon, good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning. Let's unpack this idea of the myth of middle class security. We've seen electricity go up by 85% since 2020, water 68%, school fees 42%, and a litre of petrol is now hovering above around near 25 Rand a litre. What has this meant for the income of the middle class?
Good morning, and thank you for having me as well. This thing of like 50,000, when you earn 50,000, we think that you're earning a lot of money. We don't take into consideration that there is inflation rate. Sometimes things go up like twice a year. Our salary still remains the same. So the 50,000 that we earn now does not buy the same things that it was buying like 3-4 years ago. Like you just mentioned, school fees, petrol, and everything actually is going up. That makes that 50 Rand, the 50,000 value go down. Now the petrol is going up again next month. We have to increase on the petrol, the money that we're using for petrol. Electricity went up. The same value that we were using like last month or 3 months back is not the same value as now. That means the 50,000 value as well is no longer the same. So we need to take into consideration of that. Sometimes us as well, we think that 50,000 is a lot of money. We tend to live this lavish lifestyle. We want to buy expensive things. We want to peer pressure, if I put it like that, because when you earn 50,000, you say that you earn a lot of money. You start buying expensive cars, expensive houses. The debt becomes more. Interest rate goes up each and every year. So that makes you feel like the 50,000 is not enough.
When we look at, what is driving this cost of living crisis, it's mostly structural. Can households budget their way out of it? And of course, the big question is, what do people cut out?
Just try to look for things that you don't need. We have to focus on essentials. Food is something that you should have. Transport is something that you should also have. Electricity, water, school fees. And then those lavish things that you think that you don't need in your life, just cut them out and focus on budgeting and also being aware of the inflation rate. Like, it is unpredictable, especially here in South Africa. You need to also always be aware of the inflation rate so that you can also be able to cut off from some of your budget, lavish things. If you don't afford to
give me an
take
example of lavish things, Sharon, because that's where most people have a difficulty. What I want versus what I need, because I've now come to need the things I want. So it can get very complicated very quickly.
Okay, so going to a restaurant, it's not something that you need to do each and every month. So you can cut that down. Buy food, cook in the house, it's way cheaper. Taking trips, yes, we do need some fresh air sometimes, but if you cannot afford that, or if the money that you're going to use for those trips, you can use it for something better, then don't take trips.
And when we look at this income bracket, debt review is often something that carries a stigma, and many advisors, right, will sort of use it as an option of last resort. At which point do people need to realize that they're in a crisis?
If you are now using more than 60% of your salary to pay your debts, that is when you can start trying to reevaluate that. No, man, my money is going more into debts than it has to go to my living expenses. And then sometimes you live off credit. After you get paid, you pay your credit cards, you pay your overdrafts, and you're left with no money, with a minus in your account. Now you have to start living off that money that you already repaid. So that is when you have to reconsider and reevaluate.
Sharon Mitzi, we'll leave it there for this morning. She's a debt counselor with National Debt Advisors. So that 50,000 Rand benchmark that South Africans used to look at as the income to earn, it no longer guarantees that financial safety. So many people, of course, will look at their salaries on paper, and it looks like a good salary. But come middle of the month, 15th, or whichever way your middle of the month falls in, you're broke. Now, what are the sacrifices that you have to make to get to payday? That's what I want to know. 086 000 2032. What are the sacrifices you have to make to get to payday? And how are you trying to survive and manage your debt?
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy backlogs coming through Pretoria this morning on the M1 South. It's the overnight roadworks which are still in place down by Stormful Road, and it's pushing a queue of early morning traffic back through Montana, back towards the N4, Bakwena Highway. So some big traffic there. The Mike 1 from Ormonde through to Empire Road, the N3 at Spruitview, both of those routes heavy, and then the N12 just lighting up with a queue coming into Galuli's. Also the N3 from Elands up through Heldnays into the lane restrictions. That's already slow as well. Taxi overturning this morning on the N3 out of Durban by Tollgate Bridge. Just watch for that. There's also some very heavy traffic on Hunt-Stepman Highway, making your way up towards the M7, and a lot of breakdowns. There's multiple breakdowns this morning between Umgeda Road and Spaghetti Junction. There's at least 3 of them, possibly 4. There are 4 breakdowns between Umgeda Road and Spaghetti Junction. You can just imagine the impact that's having. Cape Town this morning into inbound towards Mowbray Main. You slow the M1 from Belleville through to Sable Roads quite slowly. Coming through Delft, Stellenbosch Arterial, queuing into Symphony Way. Oh, no traffic lights either. Jakes Kerville and Viking Way. Delays all over that junction, right in the heart of Epping. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
At Fly SAFmRadio, we know that some of the most important lessons take place beyond the classroom, on sports fields, stages and tours. And so, we've brought back our School Booster Initiative, where 10 schools stand to win 10 domestic return flights each, helping their pupils fly further, dream bigger and do what they love. Visit flysafmradio.co.za. Tell us how these flights could benefit your school and you could be a winner. Fly SAFmRadio, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
The National Briefing on SAfm with Cathy Mohlahlana.
Well, let's take a look at this story then. Yesterday in Pretoria, the Justice and Constitutional Minister, Mamuluko Kubai, convened a ministerial stakeholder engagement with the legal profession. In the room included the Black Lawyers Association, the Law Society of South Africa, Advocates for Transformation, among others. On the table was why the state's briefing patterns still favor established, mostly white firms. The minister conceding that transformation of the legal profession is facing resistance by established lawyers. And she said it was black women practitioners who remain the worst off. She's now announced that every state attorney office will be required to hold quarterly stakeholder engagements on brief allocation. Advocate Myron Durance is a leader. Advocates for Transformation joins us on the line. He was one of those very vocal during that particular meeting. And in fact, it echoed the sentiment of the other colleagues in the room. Advocate Durance, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cathy. How are you?
Well, thank you. You, of course, gave anecdotes of colleagues who had been reduced to reducing their homes to Airbnb for rentals, an advocate living in her car with her child just to try and make ends meet. I also then just want to play you this clip of what some of the other advocates in that meeting had to say.
I had a bill that was taxed in 2023. Just a default judgment, 31,000 has not been paid up to today. And there is 100% statistics on the board.
As black conveyancers, we used to get work from the departments that are having conveyancing instructions. However, that changed. The day that work was transferred, that function was transferred to the Office of the State Attorney.
The problems seem to be multifaceted. Unpack them briefly for us.
Thank you, Cathy. I think one should first distinguish between advocates and attorneys. The attorneys are, you'll have to further then distinguish between conveyancers and attorneys then in the subcategory of attorneys. But let me speak to you from the perspective of advocates. Advocates are briefed by attorneys in terms of the referral rule, and the referral rule, in short, is advocates can't. Well, let me put it this way: clients can't approach advocates directly, but through the intervention of an attorney. Otherwise, it's unethical. So, advocates depend on attorneys for payment. Payment is a big problem when it comes to government in general, and not only the state attorney. So when we talk about transformation, you can't talk about, you can't divorce the issue of payment. So the current state of transformation in the legal sector is mixed. There's been progress in form, but not enough progress in substance. We've seen a real movement in increase of participation of black practitioners and women. Transformation targets and policies are being put in place, and greater awareness across the profession. So transformation is no longer being ignored. The difficulty is that the progress is not yet translating into sustainable practices. Many practitioners, and I'm talking about practitioners, I'm talking about attorneys and advocates, are being briefed, but they're not being briefed consistently and not at the level that allows them to build a career. We are seeing participation, but there's not enough sustainability. 3 issues define the current state. So that's briefing patterns, work is still inconsistent and often concentrated among a smaller group. You can just see at the commissions, various commissions, you see the same faces. There is where real transformation happens and it remains uneven. Payment is critical. Delayed payment affects cash flow and it makes it difficult for practitioners to survive. If you are not paid on time, you cannot sustain a practice and that undermines transformation. So the issue is not just who gets work, but who gets work consistently, who progresses, and who still practices over time. So transformation must be measured by who is able to stay in the profession and not just who enters it. So there is progress, and that must be acknowledged. But transformation, to be meaningful, it must translate into consistency of work, fair access to
Sure.
opportunities, and access to sustainability and payment. So the biggest culprits in our view and in our experience are municipalities and SOEs, not only the state attorney. So state attorneys only, there's, in terms of the state attorneys act as their mandate, but SOEs, like we said, SARS, Reserve Bank, ESCOM, etc., and municipalities briefs outside the state attorney. And we find that there's a real problem with payment, although you may be briefed from time to time, or attorneys may get work from time to time from the SOEs and municipalities that don't get paid on time. And that is a real problem for us.
Advocate Durrance, just briefly and lastly, distinguish this matter from it being about the quality of work that is delivered, because that's often what this conversation is reduced to, that advocates are not being briefed, in particular black advocates are not being briefed because they somehow don't match up to the traditional companies, legal companies.
I think that's a fallacy. I think our training in the General Council of the Bar, of which Advocates for Transformation is organized, and I'm the previous chair of the General Council of the Bar, there's strong emphasis on training. So I think it's a fallacy if they say because of the color of our skin, our quality of our work is inferior. That is a complete lie, and it must be debunked immediately. The problem is networks and established networks. And if you don't fit into an established network or get into an established network, you won't get work. It's like normal business. But also then there's the issue of corruption. We've had reports of corruption within government entities and SOEs, and even within the state attorney's office, where people have to bribe. And it's unfortunate that we have to say that, and we've said it on platforms many times, including Nadella has said it. Lawyers have to bribe certain officials to get work or get work as part of an established network. And not only that, they also have to bribe the paying officials paying their bills. So I think it's not only because of the color of our skin.
Okay.
That is a complete fallacy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Advocate Myron Durrance, he is the leader for the Advocates for Transformation.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Masimola to appear in court over controversial SAPS tender, and Mnisi grilled over Tshwane tender WhatsApp chat with Nkosi. Good morning. The National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimola, is expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning. His appearance is related to the 360 million rand irregular tender the SAPS awarded to Medicare 24, a company linked to alleged crime kingpin Vuzumuzi Cat Mohlahlana. Mohlahlana and 15 others, including senior police officers, have appeared in the same court to face charges including fraud, money laundering and corruption. The suspended Tshwane Chief Financial Officer Gareth Mnisi will be further grilled over his alleged tender manipulation when he appears before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry this morning. The tender relates to a 2.9 billion rand security contract. Mnisi is facing scrutiny over the WhatsApp messages he exchanged with the suspended police organised crime unit member Fani Nkosi on the tender, as well as a lavish lifestyle. Meanwhile, the Commission spokesperson Jeremy Michaels says the inquiry has nothing to do with the recent high-profile arrests.
There have been media reports to the effect that the so-called Madlanga task team has arrested certain people. This is likely to lead to the wrong perception that Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga or the commission he chairs is arresting people. The truth is that it is an SAPS task team that has been arresting people. Justice Madlanga himself is concerned by the possible perception, not least because the function of arresting people is at odds with the judicial function.
The Democratic Alliance has urged the Ekurhuleni Mayor Nkosindiphile Xhakaza to immediately suspend the city manager Kagiso Lerutla following his arrest. He appeared at the Boksburg Magistrates Court alongside the suspended EMPD Deputy Chief Julius Mkwanazi yesterday. They are both facing charges of fraud, corruption and defeating the ends of justice. The DA Ekurhuleni mayoral candidate Katuchelo Rasilingwane.
The Democratic Alliance calls on Ekurhuleni Executive Mayor Xhakaza to act immediately by suspending the city manager Kagiso Lerutla, who is now under arrest pending further investigation into the charges laid against him. Should he be found guilty, he must be dismissed without delay. Despite warnings from the Democratic Alliance about his performance in his previous position as a group CFO, where he was responsible for the city's financial performance, residents should not have to pay the price for instability, mismanagement and corruption. The arrest must not stop here. There is no doubt there are many other officials working for the city who must also be brought to book.
The office of the former Botswana President Festus Mogae says he's recovering well at home. 86-year-old Mogae was admitted to hospital in Gaborone 2 weeks ago. Ri Hetanang is the senior private secretary in the office of the former president.
He is very stable and remaining at home under very specialized care, and he's okay. We can confirm that His Excellency is doing very well, and we can only thank the public for the support and the prayers towards his recovery, and ask them to continue praying for His Excellency's recovery going forward, while we also request them to accord the family the privacy and dignity that His Excellency deserves.
And finally, the British monarch King Charles has paid tribute to his mother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, on what would have been her centenary birthday. The late Queen, who was Britain's longest reigning monarch, died nearly 4 years ago. The BBC's Daniela Relf has the details.
The King says he does not want the day to be about his mother's absence, but instead be a celebration of her life. He says much about the times we now live in may have troubled the late Queen deeply, without referring to anything specific.
I take heart from her belief that goodness will always prevail and that a brighter dawn is never far from the horizon.
Recapping the top story, the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimola, is expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning. His appearance is related to the 360 million rand irregular tender the SAPS awarded to Medicare 24, a company linked to alleged crime kingpin Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
You may or may not know the difference between shares and bonds, but you do know a great Outsurance deal when you see one. Get a car insurance quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, soccer, USM Alger face a very difficult Zamalek final, and we also have Africa becoming an early season hub for global athletics. The details around 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Our top traffic story this morning is very heavy backlogs on the M1 South out of Pretoria from the N4 Bakwena Highway all the way down through Montana and down to Stormful Road. Single lane open for roadworks and a major backlog. A lot of backlogging going on as well on the run through Vanderboom Junction. North, as well as the Mont Poly Highway queuing from Theomans all the way down to Eskia and Patsali. Joburg this morning, Mike 1, pretty slow from Ormonde all the way through to about Parktown's Oxford Road before you're out of that. Durban, a crash and a breakdown now on the N2 South after Umgeta Road, pushing traffic back as far as Queen Nundee Drive. M7 into Pinetown, slow from Hans Detman, Higginson Highway out of Chatsworth, very slow down towards the N2 Highway this morning. And Cape Town, 2 really big traffic lights out. Stellenbosch Arterial and Symphony in the heart of Delft, those lights are down. And Jakes Kerville and Viking Way right in the middle of Epping, lights out there on top of the roadwork. Some extra delays getting through that junction. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAFM. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
8 after 7 o'clock, you're listening to the National Briefing. Coming up in this hour, the ANC has given its dual membership SACP comrades 10 days starting Thursday to declare which party they will campaign for in the local government elections this year. In a moment, we'll speak to ANC NEC member Mzwandile Masina. We'll then ask political scientist expert Stephen Friedman whether the tripartite alliance will hold. Does this become an existential moment for the alliance? Also coming up in this hour, the reality check this week with Professor Tulima Donsela will continue her meditation on unity in diversity. And the question she's asked us, what does it take to actually be at peace with each other? All of that coming up in the next hour. As always, we'd love to hear from you. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial for our studio line. 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, send those messages and voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Hey! There's something new happening on SABC2. Fresh stories, bold moves. It's just a whole new vibe, man. And I am part of that vibe in Pinville. I am Shameni Mdinda. Catch me on Monday to Friday at 9 o'clock. Live in every beat. The pulse of SA.
You may or may not know the difference between a contour brush and a bronzer brush, but you do know a great Outsurance deal when you see one. Get a car insurance quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
The National Briefing on SAFM with Cathy Mohlahlana.
11 after 7 o'clock. Well, at Luthuli House yesterday, ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula delivered what amounts to an ultimatum. From Thursday, every ANC member who also holds SACP membership has 10 days to respond in writing as to which organization they will campaign for in the local government elections. The basis, Rule 25.17.14 of the ANC Constitution is what is being cited. It prohibits members from campaigning for another party. And all of this following the SACP's Special National Congress, which resolved to contest elections independently. Let's listen to this clip of Fikile Mbalula explaining that the SACP is not expelled from the ANC by any means.
The letter will be written, it's not yet written, by the Secretary General to all ANC members, including those who are in the SACP, to respond in 10 days if ever they will campaign for the ANC or the SACP. That letter will come out next week to all members. Now, if you don't respond to that letter but you continue to campaign for the SACP, there will be consequences. because the ANC constitution is very clear that dual membership is acceptable. But if now the Communist Party is a party on its own, is campaigning, and therefore you are a SACP member and you campaign for the SACP, you'll have to choose the SACP. And then you have to respond to us so that our task is easier. But we are not going to chase communists out of the ANC because the alliance is not broken. The SACP have simply taken a decision to stand as a party in the coming local government election. And that is why we are saying to our members, we must not understand that as inimical, as something compared to other opponents. They have taken a decision, but they are not out of the alliance. We will see out of the elections what will this give to the alliance, this contestation by the SACP.
Some of the names under the spotlight include the Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe, Higher Education Minister Budi Manamela, Deputy Finance Minister David Masondo, Science and Innovation Minister Blade in Zamande. Those members are set to hold dual membership. Mzwandile Masina is an ANC NEC member. He joins us this morning. Mr. Masina, good morning for your time this morning.
Good morning, Cathy.
It sounds simple, I guess, in the mind of the Secretary General of the ANC as he explains it, but practically, do you expect that there's going to be a workable distinction on the ground between what the ANC wants to see established versus how campaigning has taken place for the entire time post-democratic era that the tripartite alliance has existed?
Yes, Cathy, this was a very difficult decision by the National Executive Committee of the ANC, given the fact that the alliance was formed many decades ago through a shared common program to advance the national democratic revolution. And we see Communist Party as a very important alliance partner, as a vanguard of the working class, which is supposed to work with the ANC in all facets until we achieve the national democratic revolution. We were obviously taken aback, but we respect the decision of the Communist Party to ensure that they contest election. Hence, we have called on our members by invoking our own constitution, as you read, section 25.17.14, that prohibits our members from campaigning for any other political party in the elections, including participating in the processes that leads to the candidate selection. So we are in pain, but the decision had to be made as proposed by the NGC, which is the highest decision-making body, to say that we need to make a decision with regard to our approach towards the elections, but not to break the alliance.
Does that idea not sort of completely destroy even the concept of dual membership? Because the concept of dual membership is that you've always been allowed to be part of these two parties. And now members are being given an ultimatum. They must choose whether they go for the SACP or the ANC. So what happens to a member, right, who chooses the SACP? Does that mean that they are going to be punished under the ANC constitution?
Look, the ANC constitution is very clear as it relates to how we must approach elections. And the genuine members of the ANC will respect that. But we are not going to be going on a witch hunt to looking for communists in the ANC so that they are punished. That's not the approach of the National Executive Committee. However, the approach is that members must be given an opportunity to actually express themselves in terms of how they are going to approach the elections. But post that, the ANC will then have to sit and review, because what we can't do now is to change the ANC constitution because we are faced with the election. So So there's always has to be distinctions in terms of how we deal with these matters, and we're confident that comrades who belongs to both organizations will be disciplined enough to respond to the call by the Secretary General
So,
of the
but
ANC.
effectively, what you're doing is that you're barring those members that hold dual membership from actually campaigning for the SACP, because you're saying that they will be punished. So let's make the example very practical. Somebody we often see on the ground during election campaigns is a minister like Minister Mantashe, right? So what happens to Minister Mantashe now? Does that mean that he either chooses the SACP and he doesn't campaign for the ANC? What will be the consequence of that? Does he lose his position in cabinet? Or does he campaign for the ANC and then withdraw completely from the SACP?
As soon as we reduce everything to seats in the cabinet, we are missing the point, because this is not about the patch. This is about a strategic decision by the ANC to ensure that it can enforce its own rules and regulation. You must remember, Cathy, that members of the ANC and SSCP have never campaigned for two organizations, even though they have dual membership. They've always campaigned for the African National Congress. So all what the NEC did is to clarify that issue, and it was done so respectfully. The ANC has met with the alliance, including SSCP, COSATU and SANCO. It has met with all its structures on the ground to clarify themselves, because the membership was getting confused on this question. So I don't think that we should reduce this to just positions, because when this alliance was formed, it was more about ensuring that we achieve an unracial, non-sexist, democratic South Africa, which is prosperous. So, and we believe that in the concept of the two-state theory, the ANC is pushing ahead with the advancing the national democratic revolution towards a national democratic society, of which the SACP can continue with socialism. So there's never been a confusion in theory on how we want to manage this relationship in electoral terms.
Are you concerned about the fact that this may be the beginning of a formal break between the ANC and the SACP?
As I said, that the alliance is a very important part and parcel of the struggle for national democratic revolution. The ANC is not reckless. The ANC is not going to push away communists in its program to achieve the national democratic society. So it is. We don't consider it as such, but because the SACP is the one that made this decision in its special congress. And therefore, the ANC had to make sure, because we know of the role that we are playing, to ensure that we are able to defend. So I don't think that this is about breaking the alliance, and that discussion is not on the table at this point.
All right, we'll get some analysis from Stephen Friedman shortly. But before I let you go, Mr. Masina, you're also the former mayor of Ekurhuleni. You must be watching the developments coming out of that municipality, the arrests that have taken place in relation to corruption, your impression of it all, and I guess a sense of what was happening at Ekurhuleni when you left.
Well, I've tried to limit my my views simply because I don't want to rule from the grave. The people of Ekurhuleni know that we had a 5-year run where we tried to do everything to the best of our ability. And then when we left, there was no vacuum. There was a leadership driven by the DN, EFF, subsequently AIC, and now ANC is back. It will be disingenuous of me to comment, and I'm certain that the leadership that is there will be able to take care of the situation that is there. Otherwise, I will express my views and distort things that are happening, because I left Ekurhuleni 5 years ago.
All right, Mzondile Masina, keeping tight-lipped then. Let me thank you for your time. Well, joining us for more on that story is Stephen Friedman, a research professor at the University of Johannesburg. Professor Friedman, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. So you've heard what Mzondile Masina has said. This is not a breaking point for the tripartite alliance. Your reading of it?
Hi, good morning, Cathy. Well, it need not be. I mean, what we're moving towards is quite frankly what always should have been the case, is a situation in which there are two political parties, the ANC and the SACP, who may be allies, but who are separate organizations. We've had a situation for the last more than 30 years in which, people who are voting for the ANC don't get to choose whether they want to support the SACP or not. You can vote for the ANC and land up with an SACP representative, and you don't get a say in it. Now you do get a say in it. But once that is the case, you can't have a situation in which people are campaigning for both organizations at the same time. I think it's logical now to move to a situation in which there will be two separate organizations with two separate members. But if you look all around the world, that's how alliances work. There are alliances between political parties all over the world, but they don't actually belong to each other. They simply work with each other. And I think that's probably where it's headed, and they're obviously finding it difficult to adjust to, because that's not what they've been doing for the last 32 years.
But practically, is there likely to be a fallout? I mean, there must be, because you have members of cabinet here who are also senior leaders of the SACP. It's almost inevitable that whatever decisions that they make are going to have intended or unintended consequences in some instances.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's the point I made earlier. You can't have a situation in which two parties are competing with each other for votes and people are a member of both parties. I mean, because obviously any vote that the SACP gets now is a vote which the ANC could have got and won't get. So this situation we've had, as I say, since we became a democracy, in which you can belong to two organizations at the same time, was never a very democratic arrangement. But I suppose it could survive if they weren't competing with each other for votes. But now that they're competing for each other for votes, it's ridiculous. I mean, what the ANC has done actually is only go halfway towards the logical place it needs to go. Because it's not saying you can't belong to both organizations at the same time. It's saying, well, you can't campaign for both organizations at the same time. So, if you see the decision that was announced yesterday, if you're a member of the SACP, you can still remain a member of the ANC as long as you don't campaign for the SACP. And they've said that the issue of dual membership will be discussed only after the local elections. But that is logically where this ought to go. You choose which of the two you want to belong to. And if they want to cooperate with each other as allies do, that doesn't alter the fact that they're two separate.
Would the stakes be different if the SACP was offering more by way of election numbers? So we've already seen some by-election results in which the SACP was contesting those, modest at best, and that's really at best. So this then becomes more of a calculated gamble for the ANC, because they've probably looked at those numbers too and realistically thought about what is it really that we would be losing out here.
Well, look, at the moment, what the SACP say they were trying to achieve with this is backfiring on them, because what they were saying is, well, we don't want to leave the alliance. We just want to show everybody in the alliance how much support we have so that they will pay more attention to us. And obviously, as you point out, so far the opposite has happened. I monitor by-elections very closely. The highest they've got in any of the by-elections they've contested is 3%. So obviously, you're correct in saying that the ANC can do this. The ANC, I guess, feels more confident because it's not losing very much. But in a sense, what is happening is one should always look at these things from the perspective of us, the citizens, who get to vote and make choices. That what always should have been, they're finally moving to what always should have been the case, is that people have the right to decide if they want to vote for the ANC, whether they want to vote for the ANC or the SACP. I would hope that the ANC's attitude would be the same, even if the SACP was getting double or triple what it's been getting so far.
Is COSATU's voice going to matter at all in any of this?
Well, COSATU, I think, finds itself in a difficult position because COSATU is an ally of the ANC, and it's not, they don't compete in elections, so it doesn't arise in the same way. But of course, as we know, COSATU leaders tend to be members of the SACP as well. So they're they will have to choose, but they will only have to choose, if you like, as ANC members. So I don't think this will really affect COSATU's influence. COSATU's influence depends really on, the extent to which the ANC thinks that its trade union ally is an important player, and I think that that's probably going to be the way they look at it, regardless of how the SACP does in elections, and regardless of the choices that COSATU leaders make when they have to choose between the ANC and the SACP.
Professor Stephen Friedman, thank you for your insights this morning on that matter. On that note, let me go to Cape Town. Andile, good morning to you. You want to weigh in?
Yes, good morning, Cathy. Just a quick one from me. I must commend whoever is guiding Zondile Masina, Cathy. The guy has matured in politics. I used to laugh at him back in the day. But with the issue of the ANC giving letters to its members, it's a good thing for me, Cathy, because ANC is breathing through the wound right now. So they want all the votes that they can get, Cathy. So those comrades from the SACP, they should state it clear which side they are standing on. Because as they resolved that they are going to stand on their own on the local government election, ANC had to take that decision. I commend them for that. Because ANC is not every time that they can think like that.
Okay. Andile, thanks for that. Tsukulo in Harry Smith, good morning.
Yeah, I was Cathy. Good morning. Hey, I was Cathy. It's frustrating, this thing of Mohlahlana now. You see, I'm always complaining about the guy. The guy is not doing enough. Now we can see things are worse than. He start now to train people by saying they must now. If they listen to the people when they raise their voice, I think maybe it was gonna be. Now they don't listen as kids. They don't.
Oh, Tsukula, that line to you is not great, but we can hear partly your dissatisfaction with this latest ultimatum. I'll take more of your calls on 086 000 2032 is the number to dial, 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the National Police Commissioner Fani Masimola is facing charges related to violating the Public Finance Management Act. He's expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning. The DA in Limpopo has called for the Molemole municipality to be placed under administration. This after senior officials, including the municipal manager, were arrested for alleged tender-related corruption. And a federal jury in the U.S. state of North Carolina has found Uber liable for sexual assault by a driver. It says Uber should pay the woman $5,000 or more than 80,000 rand. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very heavy coming out of Pretoria through Montana this morning on the way down to Stormful Road. Overnight roadworks overrunning well into this morning's peak hour. The M1 South is queuing back to the N4 Bakwena Highway. Sefaka out of Montana into that highway is busy, and then delays out across towards Moloto Road as motorists seek alternative routes. Vanderboom Junction, very heavy. Lavender Road, Paul Kruger, as you come out of Pretoria North, really big backlogs there. The M1 North up at Rigel Avenue on your way through to Garsfontein. That looking quite busy as well. Joburg's Mike 1, traffic all the way through from Boyson's right through to about Greyston this morning. The N3 is heavy. Ilan's through to Bedford View as you hit the lane restrictions there around Heldnace. Durban's N2 is a route under pressure both ways this morning. Northbound, there are 2 breakdowns between the M7 and Spaghetti Junction. That's pushing a queue almost back to Cement Factory. And then southbound, another breakdown this morning after Umgeta Road, so coming through from Indunda very slow. M7 from Hunstedman up over St John's Avenue Bridge. That's heavy. There's also queues on the M4 this morning at Congella, sort of Clarewood area, on your way to Congella, just as you come up from Jacobs into that Clarewood area. Southern Freeway, very heavy. And Cape Town, no traffic lights, right in the heart of Epping, Jakes, Kerrville and Viking Way. There's traffic all over that junction. Symphony Way and Stellenbosch Arterial also out with big traffic delays through Delft. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
A very good morning again, Zai Khan. Let's look at soccer coming out of the continent. USM Alger set up a tough CAF Confederation Cup final clash with Zamalek.
Yeah, Cathy, this is tough, really tough conditions to play in. Mentally, it's a big one for USM Alger. There was so much of chaos as well because of crowd trouble. So this is going to be a very, very interesting final when they take on Zamalek. So we're looking forward to that. This is CAF Confederation Cup final. It was a disrupted semi-final that took place in Morocco. The Algerian side advancing on away goals following a 1-0 draw with Olympic Safi. They now face Egyptian giants Zamalek in the final, and they're looking for a tough but a controlled contest. Let's bring it back now home. Durban City interim coach Pitso Dladla admitting it was a tough afternoon after his side were beaten 5-2 by Magesi in Seshego. He says conceding early allowed Magesi to dictate the game, but added it was just a bad night for his side.
Half time, we sat down, we identified our challenges, we all agreed what we're going to do in the second half. Again, when we're desperate, you played like that, and we considered the 4th goal. We believed in ourselves, kept on going, considered the 5th goal, and then from there, we also tried. The game just became open. And yeah, I'll say bad nights for Durban City Football Club.
Let's go to Chelsea coach Liam Rossignol insisting he still has the full backing from the club's leadership despite 4 straight defeats without scoring. The London side now sits 7 points off the top 5. Elsewhere, Romelu Lukaku will continue his injury rehabilitation in Belgium after constructive talks with Napoli. The striker has been sidelined with a hamstring injury and is expected to return in around 2 weeks. Cricket action, the Mumbai Indians are back to winning ways after a 99-run victory over the Gujarat Titans in Ahmedabad. Tilak Varma led the charge with an unbeaten 101, guiding Mumbai to 199 for 5 despite an early burst from South Africa's Kagiso Rabada. In response, Gujarat collapsed under pressure with Ashwani Kumar claiming 4 wickets and Jasprit Bumrah striking early to seal that win for Mumbai. And finally, Africa is taking center stage in global athletics, hosting a series of major events in the early part of the season. From Nairobi to Gaborone and Shwane, the continent is not only producing top athletes, but also hosting world-class competition. The spotlight shifts to Botswana. That's next month for the World Relay Championships, followed by the African Championships in Ghana. And that's your sport for now. That's on the National Briefing. We'll be back with more at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAFM.
Ndauleng, good morning again. Let's start with Business Leadership South Africa. It says the Middle East conflict is opening up a short-term tourism for South Africa, an unexpected offshoot or green shoot, should I say?
That you're absolutely right, Cathy. Now, the body's CEO, Busima Vuso, says
rising instability involving the US, Israel, and Iran is prompting travelers and conference organizers to reconsider safer and more reliable destinations, with South Africa emerging as a potential beneficiary. She points to favorable time zones and strong infrastructure in cities such as Joburg and Cape Town, noting that the tourism sector has already attracted more than 10 million visitors, that being last year, supporting jobs and broader economic growth. But Mavuso warns that structural challenges persist, including slow visa processing, congestion at key airports, and ongoing safety concerns. She cautions that the opportunity may be short-lived, urging swift reforms and targeted marketing to capture displaced global demand before competing destinations reposition themselves. Against that backdrop of shifting global flows and uncertainty, the JSE has fined and publicly censured the Komati Basin Water Authority, an SA Eswatini joint infrastructure entity, for repeated failures to meet disclosure requirements. The R500,000 penalty is suspended for 3 years, subject to future compliance. Now, COBWA, established in 1992 under a bilateral treaty, manages the Three Koppies Dam in SA and the Makuka Dam in Eswatini, both central to irrigation, water security, and regional development, with tourism as a secondary benefit. The exchange found COBWA failed to publish a timely SENS announcement on a senior executive appointment, only disclosing it months later. Now, this marks its fourth breach in 4 years, underscoring persistent governance and transparency weaknesses. The JSE maintains that timely disclosure is critical to market integrity, particularly for strategically important stake-linked entities. Turning to markets, with just under an hour and a half to go before local trade opens, expectations are for a mixed start as geopolitics continue to dominate sentiment, particularly the inflationary impact of renewed tensions. On the domestic front, attention is firmly on tomorrow's inflation print, with economists expecting prices to edge higher. Ahead of that print, the rand remains range-bound. It's at 16.36 to the dollar this hour, 22.12 against the British pound, and 19.27 versus the euro. Commodities are also subdued this morning, with oil trending marginally lower at around $94 a barrel. Then over in global equities, US futures and Asian markets have surprisingly moved into positive territory this hour, despite lingering concerns over the status of peace talks ahead of a looming ceasefire expiry. And that's where I leave things with you this morning. Catch you tomorrow for a closer look at business and market developments across the globe. I'm Ntauleng Lechela for the National Briefing.
Tension has kicked in as the Proteas women are pumped up to win. However, the women in blue have an agenda to silence the hosts. This is the third T20 International. Do not miss out on the exciting battle, South Africa versus India, on Wednesday, 22 April at 6 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC3, with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This Freedom Month, we reflect, we remember, and we celebrate how far we've come. 30 years into democracy, South Africa continues to shape a future grounded in justice, equality, and opportunity for all, under the theme Freedom and the Rule of Law. 30 years of democratic citizenship. SAFM will bring you all things freedom, the voices, the stories, and the conversations that matter. Join us as we honor the journey and explore what freedom means today. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The National Briefing on SAFM, weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
It's 7:41. You're listening to the National Briefing. Coming up shortly, we'll take some of your calls, 086 000 2032. That's on our big story. I see some of you are responding to the conversation that we had in the first hour of the show around the middle class and the pressure that the middle class is under. So that 50,000 Rand a month benchmark that seemed to be the comfortable number for South African middle class, that if you earn 50,000 Rand a month, then you should be relatively comfortable. Well, National Debt Busters is busting that and saying, in fact, those that are earning 50,000 Rand a month are spending 74% of their income, of their net income, servicing debt. And it just shows you the pressure that consumers are in. So we will take some of your calls and WhatsApp voice notes on that. If you are a member of the SACP and the ANC, where you hold dual membership, what is going to be guiding or driving your decision about which way to go? I also want to hear from you on that. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial, and on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. Well, let's get into our reality check segment for today. This week we're on a journey with Professor Thuli Madonsela. At the heart of this segment is really an opportunity to pause, to reflect, and to think seriously about the state of South Africa, not just what is happening, but why it's happening, what it's costing us, and what must be done to change it. We're hoping the segment will help provoke our thinking and enrich our national discourse. And of course, we'll bring you different voices who offer their candid, sobering, and provocative perspectives. So this week we're joined by Professor Thuli Madonsela. Prof, good morning.
Hi, Cathy and listeners. Once again, it's a privilege to join the reality check chart. Yesterday, we started this chart on 30 years of our Constitution by focusing on the preamble's commitment to creating a society that is anchored in unity in diversity. One of the things I said was that for a society to be united, it needs to be bound by social justice, and therefore social justice can be regarded as a glue. Now, what is social justice? You may have been told that social justice is affirmative action. Well, that's not entirely true. In circumstances where there's already been maldistribution, social justice may include restitutive measures or remedial measures or reparative justice, but that's not the end of the story. You've also been told that social justice is non-racism. Indeed, the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racism does regard anti-racism as a social justice issue, but that's still not the end of the story. You may also have been told that gender justice is social justice. Yes, gender justice is a dimension of social justice, but you may also have been told that social justice is socio-economic rights. That's not true either. Social justice, of course, does require equal enjoyment of all human rights as part of equal enjoyment of all rights and freedoms. And lastly, you may have been told that social justice is socialism. That is not true. So social justice is for everyone. It is fairness to all. At the Center for Social Justice at Stellenbosch University, we say social justice is about embracing the humanity of every person, rich, poor, black, white, woman, man, child, grown up, national and non-national. That is social justice. And that embracing of the humanity of everyone, as required under Ubuntu, must be reflected in equal enjoyment of all rights and freedoms reflected in just, equitable and fair distribution of all opportunities, resources, benefits, privileges, and burdens in a society. So ultimately, social justice is about fairness to all through even distribution of the burdens of living together and the benefits of living together. So over the week, we're going to talk to where are we with regard to social justice in South Africa, but also what does social justice mean to Black people? What does it mean to white people? What does it mean to rich people, to poor people, to men, to women? Because there's something for everyone in social justice. Also, we're going to talk about, is it compulsory that we should advance social justice? Or is it something that we don't have to do? Local government, for example, going into local government elections, should people who want to lead in local government be committed to social justice? Well, let's discuss that in the next lot. Thank you.
That is Professor Thuli Madonsela. You would have heard in the background, she is on the move. But the question or the issue she's putting before us today is that of social justice. Listen to that. Equal enjoyment on all human rights and freedoms. Equal enjoyment on all human rights and freedoms, and equal embracing of humanity. So in the context of what she has explained, what does social justice look like for a society like ours? What does social justice mean for a society like ours? 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. I'm taking your calls shortly.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation.
SAFM traffic with momentum. Just as you plan your route, only 15% of households plan for retirement. Plan yours today. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor for advice that meets your context.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a heavy N1 highway through Pretoria this morning. We've been telling you about the roadworks that are underway by Storumful Road, southbound. That's still heavy coming through from the Bakwena Highway. But then further down, there's been a crash by Garsfontein, and it's as equally heavy southbound into that as it is running northbound. So heavy backlogs at the moment, not only at Montana Storumful, but then really between Linwood Road and Buerta Avenue, both ways. You're lining up, get towards that crash scene at Garsfontein Road. Apart from that, Vanderboom Junction in Pretoria is still very busy, and there's a breakdown on the N14 after, before you get to Euphues, so between Vreda and Euphues, the Ben Schoeman Highway going into Pretoria under quite a bit of pressure around that one as well. The Mike 1 joined up queues this morning, Boyson's through to Greyston all the way through, not many gaps in that run through to Sandton. Durban, there's been a very busy run on the N2. There are now two broken down vehicles on the northbound track, one near the M7, another before Spaghetti Junction, so jam-packed on that run to 4 level. The southbound side has started to ease up after multiple breakdowns in the crash earlier. M4 Southern Freeway, Jacobs Clarewood area going up into Durban, that's very slow. There's also a breakdown on the N2 north before Gateway, so some extra delays as you head up that way into the Umhlanga area. And there's a backlog of traffic around Pietermaritzburg this morning. N3 just coming onto Town Hill territory, arriving from Hilton, looking very slow. And Cape Town, reasonably busy this morning, particularly if you're out of Tableview. There's big traffic on Marine Drive to Sunset Beach on the Coburg Road, heavy down to Montague Drive, and there's a crash coming that way on the N7 South before Bosmansdam Road, which has pushed traffic back in towards Plattercliff Road. Also no traffic lights, Jake Scoville and Viking Way, so some really big traffic all over that junction, particularly for motorists coming in from Elsie's on Viking Way. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorised FSP and registered credit provider.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone. So why settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some? Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Have you discovered the TV license WhatsApp yet? We see you binging reruns, living for the drama, loving the SABC Plus sports replays. Now, paying your TV license fits the vibe. Simply say hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060. Get your balance, make a payment, or set up a debit order all in one chat. No queues, no please hold, just convenience that feels like it should have been here all along. Because every screen in South Africa is a stage and yours is lit. So why wait? Send hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060 and get your TV license sorted today. Hashtag your screen, your story.
Call SAFM now on 086 000 2032.
Morning, Cathy, and to the rest of the SAFM listeners. I think it's very important for all of us to actually live within our means and not live to please other people, buying expensive cars that we cannot afford, wearing clothes that we cannot afford. I think most of the time, people who find themselves broke in the middle of the month are people who live way above their means. Thanks. It's Belinda from Muscle Bay.
Yeah, social justice is destroyed by our own government, our own ministers, with their corrupt activities. You see, stealing the money of the government, that in itself, you see, preventing the nation to live socially, to have their justice executed or to enjoy their justice, their life. Thanks. It's Willie and Kuma.
Good morning, Cathy. This is Cathy. Don't spoil our day about talking about the debts. Today is the 21st. We are broke. We have no money. Nothing is left. So the only option, or the way we can do it, is to go to Mashonisa. Thank you, Cathy.
The National Briefing on SAFM. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
Yeah, and that's part of the difficulty, right? It's that the debt is used to pay off more debt, and that's why there's this warning about the crisis that the middle class is actually in. So we need to pay closer attention to that. Let me continue taking your input. Bond Nyoka, you're in Gqeberha. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Katie, and to the listeners. I just want to respond about the proposed letter by Fikile Mbalula.
Okay.
It is both. It would be unreasonable and unlawful to write such a letter. The letter that should be written is to remind all members without discrimination about whether they belong to the SACP or ANC that it is a violation of Regulation 25, subsection 17, subsection 13 to campaign or to assist in canvassing against an NEC-endorsed candidate. It's an act of misconduct because this thing of dual membership goes to the category of acts of misconduct. Therefore, a letter written to them is like telling them, make a choice whether they're going to commit an act of misconduct or not. That is not on. They've not made that choice yet. No one should be forced to indicate that they're going to commit misconduct or not. It's a violation of their privacy and their freedom of choice. It's just like a church asking its congregants to indicate, make a vow that they are not going to commit a sin in 2026, or a family asking its fellow members whether they are going to stick to the family values. You cannot do that. It's political, it's a scare tactic and bullying.
Bond, the minute you said a letter without discrimination, it tells me that you know a little bit more about the law than ordinary people. Are
I'm
you?
an attorney.
Oh, you're an
I'm an
attorney.
attorney.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
I'm the one who spoke about the Julius Malema thing. I'm an attorney and a legal analyst.
Fantastic.
But I'm with people now. I like my people. That's why I'm phoning. I won't be in a pedestal somewhere. Yeah.
So there could be legal ramifications then for
Yes,
Mbalula
it's
and
like
the ANC if they go ahead as they plan.
Yeah, Section 9 of the Constitution says no one should be discriminated against. If people within the ANC, which it allows, can be ANC members and SACP members, asking them to respond like that within 8 days is discriminating against their choices. Unless they act, then the consequences of acting must come. A disciplinary hearing must be held that you campaigned or you stood in an election, not beforehand.
All right. Thanks for that, Mr. Nyoka, giving us that breakdown there. As you heard, a letter without discrimination, meaning that they reserve their right to make that decision when they get to it, and you can't preempt it any sooner to when the decision actually has to be made. Denzel, you're in Morocco. Good morning.
Good morning, Katie. How are you? Fine.
Okay, Denzel, go for it.
I was just asking Advocate Madonsela just to explain to us as listeners. I'm very interested to know what is the meaning of capturing, because I experienced this thing here in our area. Our leaders here are captured. You know, the foreigners are just telling them what to do, and they just do it now. I understand it maybe wrongly. If she can just explain to us what the meaning of captured is, if you are captured, what is the meaning of that? Thank you.
Okay, Denzel, we'll try and we'll actually ask her to do that. Maybe she can just add it as an add-on to the reality check as she does it for the rest of the week. All right, thanks for that.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Katie. Have a nice day.
Same to you, Denzel. You know, I guess it's because, the listeners always say, Cathy, we are on the African continent, right? And then my program manager is going to say, Cathy, people mustn't say hello. How are you? What did you have for breakfast? So, yeah, we're going to keep wrestling with it until eventually we get it right.
Good morning, Kathy. I'm still saying ANC is for all the people who are living in South Africa, not for blacks, not for white. So that means there's no black person who will vote for TA. There's no a white person who will vote for EFF or MK party. I'm talking about strong opposition parties now. So these Molanyana's parties are people who were supporting ANC during 1994. Now these people are disgruntled members because of criminality, because of corruption, and because of looking for positions. Now they form their own parties, including the SACP now. But we are saying, ANC, please clean yourself. Even if it can be 5%, we'll still vote for you. Thank you.
Outsurance Essential is made for older cars. Claims are paid in cash within 5 working days, and you choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
In our top stories, Masemola to appear in court over controversial SAPS tender, and DA requests Limpopo municipality undergoes administration. Good morning. The National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, is facing charges related to violating the Public Finance Management Act. He's expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning. His appearance is related to the 360 million rand irregular tender the SAPS awarded to Medicare 24, a company linked to alleged crime kingpin Vusimuzi Mahlala. Mahlala and 15 others, including senior police officers, have appeared in the same court. Calvin Hludla is outside court.
One would say, where was the national commissioner? Because even though he was not responsible for making sure that on daily basis he monitors the operations at the South African Police Service, because we know that he's an accounting officer. But one would ask about such an amount, 230, it's not a small amount, but the state will have to prove as to how is the national commissioner involved. Because remember, Brigadier Atlenda Mate and the Minister of Police, they did mention that yes, he was summoned, but he was not charged with fraud and corruption. So we will have to get inside so that we can be able to make sure that we follow up on this matter.
Meanwhile, the National Coloured Congress leader Fadil Adams says the tender was awarded to Mohlahlana's company under Masimola's watch. Adams is among people that are attending the court hearing.
I warned them in that police portfolio. I warned them that very soon the South African Police Services will not have any management left. By my count, we're on about 30 seniors that are appearing before court. And trust me when I tell you, there's dozens more to come. I don't know how the court system is going to cope with this process. And I certainly don't know how the South African Police Service is going to cope without management. But from where we stand, the shenanigans that have been happening within the SAPS, the cover-ups, the murders, the fraud, the theft, the looting, it appears to be coming to an end. The National Commissioner, in our view, should have been arrested months ago until a famous general called a press conference to stop it, to subvert it. Let's see what they do this time.
The defence is expected to call another witness when the trial of alleged underworld crime boss Nafiz Modak resumes in the Western Cape High Court today. Yesterday, Modak told the court that he was not being given a fair trial. This after Judge Robert Henny ruled against the defence submission of new evidence. Modak and 14 co-accused are facing more than 100 charges, including the killing of anti-gang unit detective Charles Kinnear in 2020. The DA in Limpopo has called for the Molemole municipality to be placed under administration. This after senior officials, including the municipal manager, were arrested for alleged tender-related corruption. The DA, which is the opposition in the municipality, says the delivery of basic services have been severely affected. The party's councillor, Calvin Machi.
We further call on the MEC for Coxter, Vasco Magamu, to place the municipality under Section 139. She is placing the municipality under administration because many of the managers there in the municipality are arrested. It's the only two newly appointed office managers who are not arrested. So all other managers are arrested. The municipality is under a very difficult situation to administer the activities of the day.
And finally, a federal jury in the U.S. state of North Carolina has found Uber liable for sexual assault by a driver. It says Uber should pay the woman $5,000 or more than 80,000 rand. The woman says a driver she booked through the app sexually assaulted her. More than 3,000 similar cases against the e-hailing company are in the courts in the U.S. In South Africa, the e-hailing industry is facing a severe safety crisis, with both drivers and commuters becoming victims of crime. Recapping the top story, the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimola, is facing charges related to violating the Public Finance Management Act. He's expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Theft, accident, and 1 million rand third-party cover for your older car. Outsurance Essential has it all. Get a quote. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
If you drive an older car, you've got to hear this. For his 2014 Chevrolet Sonic, 68-year-old Johnny chose Outsurance Essential Car Insurance because his claims get paid out in cash and he chooses his own panel beater. For these and many more benefits, John pays only 391 Rand a month. Get Outsurance Essential Car Insurance today for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, soccer, Orlando Pirates are chasing history ahead of the high-stakes Soweto Derby showdown. And in rugby, the Lions, they move up to fourth on the United Rugby Championship points table. We'll have all this and more at around 8:30.
SAFM guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. It's all happening around Pretoria. We've been detailing the big delays coming through the Montana area. So the M1 South, roadworks at Storumful and a backlog of traffic beyond SAfmRadio. Still very heavy on that run from Montana along the M1 South into Storumful Road. And then further down, it gets even heavier with the crash by Garsfontein between Rigel and Garsfontein. Northbound from Botha Avenue, solidly jammed. Southbound coming down from Linwood Road through Atterbury, Garsfontein towards that scene, pretty heavily backed up as well. Also, the Ben Schoeman Highway heading into Pretoria, breakdown before Eupheus Road, so some delays there. Joburg, the real standout today is the Mike 1 from Boysons all the way through to Grayston Drive at Sandton. Not many gaps in that traffic. Coming into Pietermaritzburg, the N3 slow as you arrive from Hilton on that Town Hill section. That looks a bit backed up. 2 breakdowns on the N2 North before Spaghetti Junction, so that's heavy. And we've got some queuing pressure heading north on the N2 up in towards Gateway. Again, a breakdown in the road construction works there. Cape Town, N1 into town, fairly slow this morning. Plattercliff Hill to Sable Road. And if you're coming out of Tableview, it's very busy. Kuberg Road all the way to Montague Drive is heavy. The N7 South, a crash at Bosmansdam Road, pushing traffic back through Plattercliff Road. And no lights. Viking Way at Jakes Kerville, the N7 junction right in the heart of Epping. Viking Way trying to get through that Epping area, backs heavily from Elsie's Riverside. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAFM. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
After 8 o'clock, welcome to the third hour of the National Briefing. In this hour, we zoom into the texture of everyday life in South Africa. In Enkalweni, in the Eastern Cape, residents have been waiting 11 years for water since 2015. Boreholes that have been drilled have all dried up. Not a single one is working today. Ground Up has been following that story. We have a resident who lives it every day, the journalist who reported it, and the municipal officials responsible for delivery. That's coming up on Municipal Watch shortly. And then in Built in Mzansi, we meet a social entrepreneur from Sikukune who's turning agricultural waste into clean cooking fuel for rural livelihoods. All of that coming up in the next hour. As always, you are invited to be part of the conversation. For our studio line, the number to dial this morning, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107.
Wait till you hear how much money Outsurance saves 30-year-old Dineo on her car insurance.
I'm saving 1,094 rands.
That's an incredible monthly saving of 1,094 rand on Dineo's 2025 Kia Sonnet. SMS out to 30754. Here's 63-year-old Almero.
We do save 417 rand. That's about 5,000 rand a year.
That's an awesome saving on Almero's 2021 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. With Outsurance, after 3 claim-free years, you get an out bonus.
Can't wait for that. A little bit of cash for a girl to have a little bit of fun, eh?
Always getting something out. You also get 5 million rand third-party liability cover, covering damage to the other person's vehicle in an accident. How much could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Postbank is improving your banking experience as part of the April card replacement rollout for social grant beneficiaries using SASSA Gold cards. From the 13th of April until further notice, Postbank sites inside Checkers, Shoprite, USave, Pick n Pay, Boxer and Spar will not assist with lost or stolen cards or PIN resets. We apologize for the inconvenience. You can still access your money through available channels. For help, call 0800 535455. Postbank will never ask you for your PIN or OTP. Postbank, an authorized financial services provider.
Do you ever call you like to sell, but don't trust your uncle or your pal? Then we buy cars is just for you. Buying cars is what we do. We offer service with a smile. We always go the extra mile. Use a place that you trust and sell your car to us.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
11 years, that's how long families in Enkalweni and the surrounding villages near Yuhi in the Eastern Cape have been waiting for water from boreholes that were supposed to be theirs. The Joe Gabi District Municipality secured ORO grant funding from the Netherlands government in 2015. At least 12 boreholes were drilled between 2015 and 2019. The project sits inside a 230 million rand plan that is meant to benefit 113 villages across Elundini local municipality. According to Ground Up, which visited the village last month, not one of those boreholes is supplying water today. There are no taps. Residents are currently walking to a water stream that animals also use daily. Many of these residents are elderly. Let me welcome our guests for this hour, Mr. Tetile Khamba, who's a resident of Enkalweni village. Mr. Khamba, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Kathy. Hi, how do the viewers?
Nombulelo Damba Hendrik is a journalist at Ground Up. She's been covering the story. Nombulelo, good morning.
Good morning, KP, and to you listeners as well.
Dumisani Lusawana is the Water Services Provision Manager at the Joe Gabi District Municipality. Good morning, Dumisani.
Good morning to you, Cathy, and to the listeners of SAFM this morning.
And Robert Fortain is Director Technical Services at the Joe Gabi District Municipality. And he'll then speak on that ORIO Netherlands funding and the conditions that came with it. Mr. Khamba, I want to start with you. You've been promised water for more than a decade now, more than 10 years. Let's talk about what your experience is daily when you actually have to get water.
Look, thank you, Kathy. My village is, the average age at my village, first of all, is 70 years and above. And it's a village where we never have water, any kind of a service. And we have to walk, 200 to 300 meters in order for us to get water from the streams. We drink it with animals, as you just heard. You said there were some engagements all throughout these years from this Orlo project that they talked about. There were some engagements and, all the empty promises. We've been waiting for them to come back to us to tell us what exactly is happening. Nothing happened. Even, I think it's 2023 when they came and they said they have the contractor to start, bringing us water. But nothing happened up until now. Unfortunately, we just lost hope from our, municipality now.
Mr. Khamba, let's talk about what it means for you and some of your neighbors being so elderly and then having to be the ones that go and fetch water from the stream. Where are the young people in the community? Not that it's justifiable, right? But where are the young people?
Look, young people from our villages, Eastern Cape is, all people from the Eastern Cape, young people go to work in, these Gauteng, Western Cape and all that. So the elderly people that are staying behind, those are the people that are actually having this burden. So young people, as they are in all those, big cities to look for jobs, because there are no jobs in Eastern Cape at all. So they go to big cities. So they always, they try to communicate with this municipality, but it's all in vain. So the only people that are having this burden are old people, predominantly about 80%, I would say. 80%.
Sure.
It's old people from my village. So it's really a big problem. And
all right. Let me speak to somebody who's seen this firsthand. Nombulelo, you visited this village, Enkalweni. What struck you the most being there?
So I think first I need to describe how I got there or the people that I met when I got there, because so the first time that they heard that there was a journalist that was coming to the village, they quickly, as Mr. Khamba mentioned, that mostly it's elderly people that live there. I was called to Komkhulu. I'm not sure if you understand the Komkhulu, where they're in Bizo, where they had meetings. It's more like a chief place. And I was also surprised to find mostly elderly people that were walking with sticks. But they were so, it's like as much that they lost hope, but they were so hopeful that now there's someone who's going to assist us with this. And the water issue was the first. I remember when I asked them, there was, even Mr. Khamba mentioned that his mother is 84 years old. Now, to find an 84-year-old telling you that, you can see from where she lives and to where she has to go. And the village, most of the time, it's more like a steepy, so they have to walk. So even if it's like they walk 300 meters, 200 meters, it feels like a long time because of how the village is made, or how the village is. So they showed me all the boreholes at first because I was looking for taps, because I thought maybe the boreholes are already connected to taps. I said, no, we only have the boreholes. There are no taps at all in the village. And then the distance from most of the houses to the streams is also, I think that's what saddened me when I was there, because now seeing these elderly people saying that now in the morning they have to wake up very early before the livestock goes to the field, because they have to make sure that they catch the water while it's still clean. And if you miss to get that early water, now you have to wait in the afternoon when the livestock comes back. It's a sad situation that I saw there.
Sure.
I was even showed one of the streams. It's made, you can see that people saw that there was the water that was coming up. So it's not even properly covered. In a way that there's a zinc or something that you can say it's properly made. It's just something that they just dug it, and then it's not even in a. I always worry about their health. That's one thing I can say, because as much as that they have to go early and get the clean water, but the way it is, you can see that it's not healthy. Yes, it's clean water, but still, it's not proper. At least if it was properly built, covered with cement, and then covered with a zinc, and then at least we know that there's that one stream that is better. So
all right, Nombulelo, I'm going to ask you to pause it there. Let me bring in Dumisani Lusawana, the Water Services Provision Manager in the Jogqabi District Municipality. Mr. Lusawana, 12 boreholes, 0 water flowing. Help us understand what exactly is standing between the boreholes and a working tap.
All right, Cathy, again, good morning to you. But I've got my colleague, Mr. Fortain, is going to handle this part of
Okay, please, Mr. Fortain, come in.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners this morning. The boreholes, I need to explain and put the boreholes into a little bit of context. As a municipality, we have developed a project towards the end of 2011, beginning of 2012, to provide water services wall to wall in all of the villages, rural villages in Elondini local municipality. I heard you in your introduction. I think you mentioned 113 villages. In fact, the project consists of 107 villages. That our study gave us the number of 107 villages. Now, we applied to the municipal infrastructure grant for funding for these water provision in these villages. We were successful in 2012, but we also went outside of South Africa, and we submitted a funding application to what you mentioned, ORIO, IRIO, ORIO, which is a funding stream for infrastructure in third world countries by the Netherlands government. What then happened, we were then subjected to the strict compliance processes of ORIO. In South Africa, we deal differently when we implement a project. For example, if we had to provide water to a village, and if you look at the project life cycle, from project initiation to completion, it would take about 2 to 3 years. We are dealing with 107 villages, so we experience delays because of the stringent processes of ORIO.
So what counts as stringent processes, Mr. Fortain? And I'm going to ask you to please keep your answers as succinct as possible, because there's a lot we need to get through.
Okay, sure. They have different gates that they have before you can move to the next stage. For example, if you go out to tender process, you develop your tender document, there's a gate. They must approve it first. You go out to tender, you do evaluation, there's a gate. You can't move, they must approve it first. There's a contract document.
So then what went wrong? It's not unusual for funders to have milestones.
Nothing went wrong with it. It just took a long time during the processes. We had to appoint a lead consultant together with 7 sub-consultants to do the work. And one of them is related to the drilling of boreholes, the geohydrology services. And they have gone into, and also, Cathy, what we did, because we are dealing with 107 villages, we decided to divide them into 3 zones.
Okay, so Mr. Fortain, here's what we're sitting with. You've had 10 years to get this right. And so whatever processes you have had to follow, you've had 10 years to do that. And yet there's still no water. On the one hand, you said you had successfully applied for grants, the municipal infrastructure grant, which was given. There's still no running water. And then you secured international funding. There's still no water, and a 10-year period.
Correct, Cathy. So over this period, we've been doing the design work. We have gone out to tender.
There's no way, Mr. Fortain, that you have been doing the contracting for a project like this for 10 years. I simply refuse to believe that.
The contracting is not the only process that has happened. since we have started with the project. That is only part of it. Part of it has been the drilling of boreholes, the testing of the quality of water, the testing of yield, if there's enough water coming out. And sometimes we were unsuccessful when you drill a
Mr.
borehole.
Fortuin, it takes a gift of the givers less than a week to drill boreholes. Less than a week to drill boreholes. How has it taken you 10 years to do that?
Yes, in zone 1 alone, we have drilled approximately 500 boreholes since we've appointed the geologist in 2021, 4 years ago. We have drilled in zone 2 about 269 boreholes, and we have drilled in zone 3 235 boreholes.
So that's close on 1,000 boreholes. How many
Correct.
of those are working?
Correct. We have successfully tested about 500 to 563 of those the boreholes that have provided sufficient yield and the right quality of water.
And they're connected to taps?
We have now appointed a service provider, a main contractor. You must understand, Cathy, that we are providing each village with a standalone scheme. We call it a standalone scheme, which consists of a source, which is the borehole. Then we will provide storage, the reservoir,
Okay.
and then the reticulation. So we have now
Mr.
appointed
Fortuin, I'm going to pause you there. Mr. Khamba, these are the people that are in charge of this project. What do you have to say for them? You're a resident that's living with this on a day-to-day basis after hearing those answers.
Thank you, Kathy. As you can see, as you can, see yourself or hear. But if it takes, I don't know, the tender documents, how long does it take? He's talking about the tender documents, talking about the boreholes that are done, talking about 200 boreholes for all the zones, 259 boreholes for zone 1. And, what makes us, to despair this much? In our village, when they came, we are zone 1, and they tested our water there. It's perfect. It doesn't even have to be purified. The water is, if they could just, come up with something that is straightforward, because they never came to us and never even told us that where are they stuck, 10 years. And it's only now that they are coming and saying that they do have now a contractor. Apparently, that contractor, they had a contractor in 2022. They came to us and told us that in October everything would get started, because the only thing that was outstanding was the plans, pipe fitting plans. That's what they told us. Now they are coming now, how many years? 6 years after or what? Telling us that they are now starting once again, coming with another contractor. They never came to us. They never explained anything to us. We know nothing now. The only engagement that was there, it was only in 2022 and 2023.
Sure.
That was only then, and we know nothing, and we're struggling. We're really struggling. And
Robert? Thanks, Mr. Khamba. Robert, as we wrap this up, give us a date. When are residents going to have access to water, boreholes that are connected to taps that they can actually run water from?
Cathy, considering we are now starting in zone 1, we haven't appointed for zone 2 and 3 yet. And zone 1 consists of...
What are the deadlines? What are the deadlines, Mr. Fortuin? What deadline are you working against? Give us the date for the deadlines.
We have appointed the contractor for three years. But obviously, he will be starting and finishing up villages as we go along.
What is the deadline that you have given the contractor?
3 years, so we are now in 2026, 2029 December.
Okay. In a village where most of the residents are elderly, and you've already taken 10 years, but now you've added another 3 years. Some of these residents might not live long enough to see the fulfillment of this commitment. Do you understand that?
I do understand that.
What does that mean to you?
That is why we are trying our level best to make sure that we catch up with the program that we have developed with Oreo to provide water to all of the 107 villages.
I will say it means absolutely nothing to you, Mr. Fortuin, if you still think you have 3 more years to provide taps so that these boreholes can actually provide water for these residents. We're going to have to leave it there. We're completely out of time for Municipal Watch. That is coming out of the Joe Gabi District Municipality and the resident of Enkalweni Village.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masimola, is facing charges related to violating the Public Finance Management Act. He's expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning. His appearance is related to the 360 million rand irregular tender the SAPS awarded to Medicare 24, a company linked to alleged crime kingpin Vuzimuzi Cathy Mohlahlana. Humanitarian organization Gift of the Givers says it will send teams to areas that the recent floods have affected in the Western Cape. Persistent heavy rainfall at the weekend has caused flooding in various areas across the province. And there's growing speculation of insider trading tied to announcements that US President Donald Trump has made. In recent months, traders have made hundreds of millions of dollars following the rapid growth of online prediction markets. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy traffic on the M1 in Pretoria. There's been a crash on the northbound between Rigel and Garsfontein. Northbound is heavy. Southbound probably just as heavy as you come into that scene and you have a look at it. Joburg, a crash on the Mike 1 North at 11th Avenue. Heavy coming through from the Boysons area this morning into that one. Durban, the breakdown before Umhlanga is still there. Heavy from Kwamashu Highway as you line up towards that M41 Gateway exit. There's also a breakdown on the N2 North before Spaghetti Junction causing a delay, and a crash on the N3 just after Hammersdale, holding up traffic en route towards Cliffdale, if you like, in Durban. Also collision after Hilton Avenue, so if you're arriving into Pietermaritzburg from Howick side, getting to Hilton down towards Town Hill, that all gets heavily backed up. Cape Town, heavy coming in from the south, the M5 from Ottery all the way through to the N2, and the M3 from Wynberg Hill, heavy right through to Hospital Bend area. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning again, Zai Khan. Orlando Pirates, they're chasing a historic 6th straight league win over Kaizer Chiefs in Sunday's Soweto derby.
But you know what, Cathy? Chiefs love spoiling history, okay? The derbies are where records they're broken sometimes. So let's just say this is not going to be a boring derby. It's going to be an exciting one. So much to look forward to. It's a historic chapter with Orlando Pirates chasing that record 6th straight league win over Kaizer Chiefs. Goalkeeper Sipho China is also on the brink of history. One more clean sheet will see him break the club's single season record. Up front, Evidence Mahopa could join derby greats, and that's if he scores in a 4th consecutive clash. So no draws have been in this fixture since 2019. So we're going to expect a decisive battle. In the meantime, Kaizer Chiefs winger Glody Lilepo is attracting interest from Libyan side Al Ittihad. Coached by former Sundowns boss Rulani Mokoena, the club is expected to table an offer at the end of the season, with Chiefs reportedly open to listening as Lilepo enters the final year of his contract. The Congolese winger has impressed since joining Amakosi, contributing goals and assists across competitions. Now, rugby, Lions rugby are earning serious respect in the URC, with Glasgow Warriors coach Franco Smith praising the Johannesburg side after their dominant win at Ellis Park. The Lions have moved up to 4th on the table. They are pushing for a first ever playoff spot with 3 games remaining in the regular season. And tennis, Nick Kyrgios is set to return to action at the Halle Grass Court tournament in June. The Australian has been sidelined by injury and has not played singles since January. And let's bring you up to speed with motorsport. Mercedes boss Toto Wolff says young Formula One leader Kimi Antonelli is developing exactly as planned. The 19-year-old Antonelli leads the championship and continues to impress, but Wolff says the team is carefully managing expectations around the rising star. And finally, Carlos Alcaraz and Elena Sabalenka have claimed the top honors at the Laureus Awards, winning Sportsman and Sportswoman of the Year respectively. Paris Saint-Germain were named Team of the Year, while Rory McIlroy picked up the Comeback of the Year award. There was, however, concern for Alcaraz, who says upcoming wrist tests will determine whether he can defend his French Open title. That's your National Briefing Sport. We'll be back with more around 12:30 with John Herica. I'm Zai Khan.
Brilliantly taken! Last year, the Proteas women were runners-up in the final of the ICC ODI World Cup against India in front of 1 billion cheering Indian fans.
The new champions of the world, India!
Now Laura and her team take them on home ground with your unwavering support behind them. Watch this unmissable T20 International Series versus India live this April with 2 games in Durban, 2 in Joburg, and 1 in Benoni. Let's get behind the Proteas. Tickets are selling fast. Book today at cricket.co.za. Dare to be unbreakable.
No one gets fit overnight. It takes discipline, and your money is no different. A Nedbank 32-day notice account helps you build financial strength with up to 7.3% interest and 0 maintenance fees. The higher the deposit, the higher the return. Invest in under 2 minutes on the Money app and get money fit with Nedbank. For more information, go to nedbank.co.za. See money differently. Nedbank, we're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Top billing is back and it's more spectacular than ever. Join us as we reopen the doors to South Africa's most iconic lifestyle show. From breathtaking homes and world-class travel to the people shaping culture and success. This is where it all comes together. Mark your calendar. The all-new season of Top Billing premieres on S3 Thursday, the 30th of April at 7 p.m. You can also stream it live on SABC Plus, available on all app stores. Top Billing is back on S3. Open up.
Call SAFM now on 086 000 2032.
It's 8:39. You're listening to the National Briefing. I must say I am struggling to maintain my composure this morning after that municipal watch. Professor Tulima Donsela spoke about social justice. What does social justice mean? Equal enjoyment of all human rights and freedoms and, the embracing of humanity. And when you see the conditions that some people in our country are subjected to, it shows that there's absolutely no concept or understanding of what creating an equal society that we have bound ourselves to in the Constitution. No understanding of what that practically means, including in how officials do their work on a day-to-day basis. Why must the least amongst us be those that we subject to this kind of suffering? I'll take your calls, 086 000 2032. is the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. In the Eastern Cape, Joseph, good morning.
Hi, Cathy.
Yes, sir.
Cathy, you know what? So shocking. You know, Tulima Donsela said we must be aware the state capture mustn't repeat itself. Cathy, so shocking. That guy can't even answer. That Fontaine, whose name? Fontaine. He can't even answer. Cathy, it's so shocking. You know what? You push him, but I think it's not enough. I think you must send him to Matanga. And then the bikie must stay outside. When they finish there, they must go inside the bikie. They must go there to Khochi Mampulu. This is our elders, Cathy. This is our elders. They are drinking water with the animals. Cathy, you know what? Corruption is so pro in South Africa. I don't know what to do. So painful, Cathy. All right, you know what? I don't know.
Yeah, Joseph. I share your sentiment completely. It is just, it is a disgrace. It is a disgrace, and it must be a national shame that this is what people in our country are subjected to. It must be.
Cathy, you know what? I don't want to talk about a race, but you know what? It's so shocked because now the corruption is not you are white or you are black. I think it's a black guy, that guy you are talking to him now. So it's a black and white, so corrupt in South Africa.
Okay, Joseph, let's leave it there.
Good morning, Cathy, and SAfm listeners. Every time you call these guys on this show, Municipal Watch, I'm not surprised. I've never heard any one of them giving you the right answer. 10 years, when gift of the givers just go there and do something for a week or two. They take 10 years. These municipalities have failed, man, Cathy. Good morning. They failed.
Good morning, Cathy. You're speaking to Kayakazi Mohlahlana. We have a problem in our villages, especially at Engalweni. We vote every time, but no service delivery, no taps. We have to fetch water from the dam where the animals are also drinking. We don't have a road. Ambulances are refusing to come in. We don't have a clinics. Our elderly have to travel from our village to another village. We really need help, especially the water and the road, also the clinic. We never get any service delivery.
Hi, Cathy. There's a company I do work for in KZN, and it's a small company, maybe of 100 staff. And they dug a borehole and connected it up to the taps. I think it was under 2 weeks. Yeah, that's it. Under 2 weeks.
And that's part of the difficulty, right? Why is something that should, if it's not complex, complicated, it should not be taking 10 years and then require another 3 years to connect those boreholes to taps that can deliver water to people? Glenn, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to the listeners. Cathy, I just want to commend you on this Municipal Watch. I think it's a mini Madanga. It's where you expose characters that are so corrupt. And I just want to say a few words to the Eastern Cape that they are ashamed. They should be ashamed of themselves. Any bad thing that has to do with corruption, law breaking, is always associated with the Eastern Cape. Those officials who are there are almost born by the same person. If you are not corrupt and you go to Eastern Cape, you will come out corrupt as never before. Eastern Cape should be ashamed of themselves. That's all I have to say, Cathy. Thank you.
All right, Glenn out in Cape Town, and I understand he comes from the Eastern Cape. Daniel, you're in Kimberley. Good morning.
My contribution here, Cathy. You see, those guys don't know nothing about
Daniel, the connection to you is not great. I'm going to ask you to try and please move around. I'll take more of your contributions. 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032 on the WhatsApp voice note line. You can send those WhatsApp voice notes and text messages on 0614 104 107. I'll try and see if we can get Daniel up on a stronger line. In the meantime, Mike, you're in Middleburg. Good morning.
Morning, Cathy. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, Cathy, in the wake of explosive and damning allegations made by suspended Mpumalanga Commissioner Daphne Manamela against top officials, it is incumbent upon powers that be to ascertain that she is invited to the Madlanga Commission for full ventilation. Suffice to say, Cathy, what she articulated during that media briefing correlates 100% with the observation some of us have been quite vocal about, for the longest time. Cathy, I said this on this platform, that Mpumalanga province has been a bastion of institutionalized political interference for the longest time, and all to the detriment of good and clean governance. Hence, unabated rampant looting and corruption in departments and municipalities. So the acting Minister of Police, yes, the acting Minister of Police, who's saying that Manamela was unprofessional. That is neither here nor there, in my view, because what matters most is the content, and the content that she delivered warrants attention, and the attention must be given now.
Okay. Mike, thanks for that contribution. Of course, it comes as the National Commissioner is set to appear in court today in relation to those charges. Contravention of PMFA, I believe it is, but we'll keep a close eye on that, and you can expect to hear updates from news. Zane, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Hope you're well. I've listened to this guy, the municipal official. I think sometimes you must be more robust towards them. They have a responsibility towards the community, but just listen to this guy. Blatant lies. He has no shame. I would say he's corrupt to the core. The fact that he doesn't even have a date to give you. It's like, how can you give 3 years after 10 years? He already had 10 years to complete his job. They just recently appointed a contractor to supply water to the taps. I'm saying the guy is corrupt to the core, and there's no seawater that can wash him off. There's no sense of urgency. I mean, for how long must the community still wait for water?
All right.
I get it.
Zane,
That's my view.
I hear you loud and clear, and it's the lack of urgency over the matter. Glenn, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. I hope my line is better now.
Much better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cathy. I want to commend you on this program of Municipal Watch. It is the platform where you can expose guys like Mr. Fortuin. Mr. Fortuin is tainted. It is written all over his responses to you. Mr. Fortuin doesn't know what he is doing. It's not, he thinks maybe he is milking the cow, but what he is doing, he's letting old elderly people suffer. And he is going down the history. He will go down in history with this bad name because he was given a responsibility. And the responsibility was not difficult. It was just to make boreholes for the elderly, and the money was provided for. Now he comes up with every and any kind of excuse because the money is no longer there. That's why he has to extend for another 3 years. Because the money is no longer there, he has to go and scratch now for another funders. And I want to say to the Eastern Cape people, stand up your ground. Your province is going down in drain because of the officials that are elected by you and who are misusing their powers and their office. Shame to all the officials in the Eastern Cape. Shame to you. Thank you, Cathy.
Sure. Glenn, out in Cape Town. It's time for your latest traffic update.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heavy traffic on Pretoria's N1 north and south today. It's this crash going northbound between Rigel and Garsfontein. It's got everything backed up coming up from Centurion from Botha Avenue, but southbound having a look and plus a breakdown as well. So just very heavy coming through that scene from Linwood Road. The M1 both ways really should be avoided. N1 going north around Joburg. There's a crash just after Malabongwe Drive causing some delays. And the other side of town, collision N3 north at Buccleuch. So getting up from Limbro Park, it's busy. Also crash on the Mike 1 North near 11th Avenue, still causing a delay coming through from Boyson's and the Crown. Now here's one to avoid, Moy River through to Escort. There's a truck that is overturned just before Escort South and it's causing a major blockage. Big delays back through Heathcote and back towards Moy River. Come off at Moy River, go up the R103, come back at Escort, job done. We have put a video up on Twitter at Traffic SA. You can see exactly what you're driving into and the reason why you should be avoiding it. Cape Town pretty heavy from the south this morning. M3 Wynberg Hill to Hospital Bend, M5 Kenilworth up towards the N2 and routes through Claremont, Newlands, Rondebosch, Mowbray, just really slow going. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
At Fly Sapphire, we know that some of the most important lessons take place beyond the classroom, on sports fields, stages and tours. And so, we've brought back our School Booster Initiative, where 10 schools stand to win 10 domestic return flights each, helping their pupils fly further, dream bigger and do what they love. Visit flysapphire.co.za. Tell us how these flights could benefit your school and you could be a winner. Fly Sapphire for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Top billing is back and it's more spectacular than ever. Join us as we reopen the doors to South Africa's most iconic lifestyle show. From breathtaking homes and world-class travel to the people shaping culture and success. This is where it all comes together. Mark your calendar. The all-new season of Top Billing premieres on S3 Thursday, the 30th of April at 7 p.m. You can also stream it live on SABC Plus, available on all app stores. Top Billing is back on S3. Open up.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
All right, let's get into our...
And say people rely on farming, gardening in a backyard. Economy, people will be able to save. There's no other way because the cost of living is tending to be very high. So people must devise means to solve this problem with economical background. Make something, save something by applying a garden, a cabbage, a spinach behind your garden, in the backyard. Thank you.
Good morning, Sis Katie. The difference between the Mohlahlana Commission and the Zondo Commission is that in the government today, in the leading government, it's a do or die. If the ANC don't take account of what has been happening for the past years, it will go down the drain. So this is the time to do it or kill the organization, or the organization will die. This is the time. It's a do or die. That's what the president is doing now.
All right, getting a little bit ahead of myself. You're listening to the National Briefing. Just about 5 minutes before we round off the show, let's get into Built in Mzansi, where we look at solutions, innovations and progress coming out of those that are quietly building Mzansi with their great ideas. Our focus today is on a social entrepreneur from Sekhukhune in Limpopo. She has been working to transform waste. This is through her organization, Rising in Sekhukhune. Voni Baloyi is a community development director and the founder of Voni Projects. Voni, good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time today. So tell us about the work that you do, taking agricultural waste that would otherwise burn or be dumped and turning it into cooking fuel and soil inputs.
Good morning, Cathy and SAFM listeners. In our villages, livestock feed is expensive and jobs is limited. I wanted to solve both, to reduce the cost of farming inputs while opening doors for women and youth to participate in innovation and enterprise. At the same time, I wanted to open doors for everyone, not leaving anyone behind. Through our community buyback model, smallholder farmers and households can provide raw materials, creating new income streams while reducing waste. And importantly, cow dung is often mismanaged and agricultural waste is left unused, contributing to environmental pollution and methane emissions. We are not competing with companies in these innovations. We are transforming the system itself, making it inclusive, regenerative, and environmentally responsible.
So tell us about. Sorry, says Voni. Tell us about the products that you are producing. I believe it's Toko sickle and dung bricks.
Yes. I grew up in rural Limpopo, where waste was everywhere, but opportunities were scarce. I realized that what many saw as useless could actually be transformed into value. That lived experience had committed me to create 2 flagship projects, innovations, which is Toko sickle, is a nutritious, aflatoxin-free livestock feed made from peanut byproducts and an invasive sickle bush pods. And cow dung, which I made a dung bricks, which is a fuel for cooking and heating for rural communities.
And where can these products be found? Where do you sell them?
At the moment, the products are still in its pilot stage, but already awareness is circulating within our communities which are affected. I am building a mini factory currently so that these products can be manufactured and taken to the market.
Voni, it's so easy, for us to look down on the simple things. And I wonder, just based on your own journey and your own experience, what you would want to say to somebody listening to you in rural Limpopo, in rural Eastern Cape, and who think about their own opportunities and sees them as limited.
You must always not think about barriers, because these experiences, we are living in them. You must be your own scientist. No matter you have a lab or not, create something. At the end of time, you'll realize that you are not only building for yourself, but you are building for the entire communities, even globally.
Voni Baloyi, be your own scientist. What a story, what a journey. We wish you all the best, Voni, and we hope you'll come back and give us an update on how the establishment of the factory is going. She's the founder of Voni Projects and also Community Development Director of Rising in Sekhukhune. That's where we end it on the national briefing for this Tuesday morning. The show back with you again tomorrow between 6 and 9 a.m. Up next, the Daily Discourse with Joanne Joseph.
Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
In our top stories, SAA to face MPs as Economist calls for a closer look and Gift of the Givers teams assisting Western Cape flood victims. Good morning. South African Airways will appear before Parliament today to discuss its annual report. This as fresh calls emerge for the airline to be closed or sold. In February, the airline released its results for the 2024-2025 financial year, which showed a 155 million rand net profit. However, economist David Ruot has questioned the low profit. He has called on members of parliament to grill the airline's executives to get to the bottom of the matter.
So what they're telling us and what is really going on, I'm not so sure that the two are the same thing. So I really, really do hope that the parliamentarians are going to grill South African Airways. And I hope the outcome of this is that we are going to close this thing down or sell it. It's been many, many years now and tens of billions of rands that we keep on losing by throwing good money after bad at South African Airways.
The National Police Commissioner Fani Masimula is facing charges related to violating the Public Finance Management Act. He's expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court this morning. His appearance is related to the 360 million rand irregular tender the SAPS awarded to Medicare 24, a company linked to alleged crime kingpin Vusimuzi Cathy Mohlahlana.